Right, come on, you four-eyed fat-faced fool. Tell us what's going to be in the new podcast from the two Mikes.
Well, plenty of buffoonery from you and lots of sense from me. What else?
By the way, I didn't drink gin and tonic when I first met you in Costello's.
Yeah, you did.
It was tank and tonic.
What?
Tank and
That's
tonic.
gin and tonic.
Tanqueray.
Tanqueray's gin.
Tanqueray is known as Tanqueray. It's not known as gin.
Well, it is gin, though.
Well, it might be gin, but it's known as Tanqueray.
That's rubbish.
No, it's not.
What a load of old cobblers.
Tank and tonic.
It's still gin and tonic.
Tank and tonic.
Plank and tonic, you should add.
Listen, do you want to hear about a miracle penguin?
My preparation is constant. You know, I don't have to come here and sit down and read the papers.
Oh,
You know,
really?
it's all going on. It's always there.
Do you know that the man who invented Weetabix has died, sadly?
Really?
Yeah.
Died sadly.
Well, I mean, sadly he's died.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very good morning to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to Mr. Parry.
A very good morning to you, Mike, as well. And listen, you have just raised a very important issue.
Yeah.
It's the position of Everton Football Club this
Indeed.
week. 4 crucial days. We'll
Yeah.
get onto that in a minute. But I think, what I really think we should do is, I think we should get the most important issue of tonight's show out of the way first.
Okay.
So perhaps you'd like to announce, please, the result of the first in the new series of Winners and Losers. When we left this studio last night,
Yeah.
I will remind the listeners that you were leading 54 to 46%.
I think that's right, yeah.
That was a percentage lead of 8%.
It was big, wasn't it?
It was huge. That is,
You
it's
know
1/12 of the whole vote.
Yeah.
Had gone your way,
Right.
1/12 more than
Very
to
early
me.
days, though.
It was early days,
Yeah.
and therefore what I did was I
You
employed.
seem very excited about this.
Well, you know, I'm excited because it's a new
a new
round.
beginning,
It's
yeah.
a new round. I haven't got
It's
any
0-0.
idea. Have no idea what the result is
No.
because I don't bother myself with the triviality of keeping check during the
did tweet
day.
out quite a bit during the day, didn't you?
Well, all I did was Marshall.
You did retweet quite a lot of those Porky Tribe types who said vote Porky, vote often as well. Despite the fact you said you wouldn't do that.
No, all I did was Marshall Porky Parry's Blue and White Army. That's all I did in a couple of tweets today. Whether or not it was effective, I don't know. Whether or not the people are listening to me
was
out
certainly
there.
very close.
Whether or not I have any influence on those millions of people who listen to us every night in putting my cogent argument forward for the winners and losers. Winners are winners and they're up there. Losers beneath my heel and ground
Why are you
into the
shouting?
dust. No, I'm not shouting,
Yeah, you
no.
are.
But anyway, what was the result?
Okay, I can I'll tell you what was very interesting.
Yes.
It's a very low turnout for some reason.
Low turnout,
I don't
yeah.
know whether there was other things
I
going
think
on.
people are disgusted at the way you gerrymandered the
you
last series of winners
Only,
and losers,
well,
and that turned them off.
Here's the result at midnight. 717 votes were cast.
What do you mean at midnight? Oh, midnight, yes.
At
Okay.
midnight, which is when when we generally call a close to the competition. Is that not correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And the result is as follows.
Yes.
Mike Graham, 50%. Mike Parry, 50%.
No, that's not true.
I've got the screen grab here.
No.
Midnight. At midnight, that was the score.
No.
Yes, it is.
No, I was leading 51-49.
I thought you said you didn't look at it.
I didn't look at it, but somebody told me.
Oh, someone told you?
Somebody told me.
Well, the result at midnight was 50-50. You
No,
can see
I don't
the
believe
clock,
that. Let me have a look
The
here.
clock very clearly states midnight.
What?
The result clearly states 50-50. Thank you. We call it a draw.
No,
So the very first...
that's gerrymandering.
No, it's not.
It is.
How can it be gerrymandered? That's the clock. It says midnight. That's the vote.
I was getting all these messages all evening as I was preparing for tonight's show saying, we've done it, we've got over the line, well done, Porky, victory.
Oh, well.
Victor.
Who are these people that keep telling you I've got over the line?
Well,
surely you're not
know,
in touch with gerrymandering, are you?
No, I'm not in touch with gerrymandering, but
No.
I'm talking about the vocal, moral, physical, supportive unit
Well, I think
which
a
looks
draw
after these
seems like a
things
very
for the
fair result.
Porkmeister.
I think a draw seems like a very fair result.
Well, I'm astonished by that. You've done something at the last moment once again.
There's nothing I can't
You have.
I have
You
no
have.
control over
It was
the way people vote.
51-49. I clawed back from...
You said that you didn't look at it.
I don't look at it.
So how do you know?
I clawed back from 46% to
Yeah.
51%, reducing you from 56% to 49%. It was
Yeah.
a titanic effort.
You did
And at
very
the last
well.
moment...
You
at
did
the last-
very well. But, I mean,
last-
I think it's a very fair result. I don't know why you're unhappy about it. It means we go into the second round with half a point each.
I should have had a...
Very exciting.
I should have
Very
the
exciting.
advantage
Thanks
of
to
one by
everybody.
now.
Thanks to everybody who voted, and for those from the Porky tribe who thought that they had somehow got you over the line. I can only say once again they've got it wrong.
Damn gerrymandering.
You have
that
to
is.
get some more intelligent
Anyway,
people
I
on
don't
your
want to talk
side.
about that. Let's talk about the
Let's
important
move
issue,
on.
and it's about Everton's crucial 4 days.
Yes.
And it is very crucial.
Yeah.
For those who don't think the game's important tonight, Everton versus Liverpool, well, in terms of where Everton finish in the Premier League, it's not.
Would you like me to tweet that result out, by the way?
No, I wouldn't bother.
I think I need to because, I'll just so that everybody's clear that that's the situation.
Clear?
Everybody's clear.
That's as clear as mud to me.
Well, just so that everybody knows that the result is a draw.
Something's been going on nefariously behind the scenes again.
Absolutely not.
I think to come back from an 8-point deficit, even to a draw, would be like being 4-0 down with 10 minutes to go.
So you get a point for that.
Sorry?
You would get a point for that.
Yeah,
in football.
exactly.
In this game, you get half a point.
Yeah, well, there you go. You see,
better than nothing.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for playing.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, well, we'll play again next week. By the way, I have decided on the Porky quiz this week.
Yes.
Did you know that in the last 48 hours was the anniversary of the birth of Elliot Ness? What is your problem?
Why would you even know that?
Well, because I do.
Because you get a little, sort of alert that comes up every day on your information device. Bing!
No, I was very interested in...
Is the anniversary of the birth of Elliot Ness.
Yeah, now, I was very interested in prohibition because it was a fascinating chapter of American history, and I'm a bit of an expert in American history, as I illustrated.
As you did last week on the American Civil War. What was the score?
Yeah.
What was it?
Anyway...
Remind me what the score was.
I meant 20th century history, 20th century American
Remind me what the score was on the Civil War.
No, I'm not going to remind you. You know what it is, so I don't know why you're asking me.
It was zilch.
Anyway, the point is, poor old Elliot Ness, right? Poor old Elliot Ness got so stressed out.
What was poor about Elliot Ness?
Well, he was the leader of a group of cops called the Untouchables.
That's right.
Right, and they were called the Untouchables because they wouldn't succumb to bribery and corruption, which is the way.
As that famous scene in the movie that's depicted when the guy was shot in the lift.
Absolutely.
Untouchable.
That's right.
Remember, written in his own blood.
I do. And the problem was.
Do you want a quiz on the Untouchables, the movie?
No.
What?
The quiz will be on the man who was at the centre of it all, old Scarface.
Kevin Costner.
No, you idiot.
Who?
The real crook himself.
Oh, you mean Al Capone?
Al Capone,
We've done
of
a
course.
quiz on Al Capone.
We haven't.
Yes, we have.
We have not.
You did. You got 2 out of 10.
Have
we
we?
did a quiz on Al Capone. Because remember, you complained there was a question about Geraldo Rivera in it, about the vault. And you complained. Yes. So we can't do Al Capone.
Right, OK, we won't do Al Capone then. But it struck me, you see...
We can do Elliot Ness, if you like.
Well, I feel a bit sorry for Elliot Ness because he was the most honest cop in Chicago. And he could have made himself millions, but he didn't. And as a result of being so moralistic and so straight, he became literally a bladderated dropout drunk.
Who, Elliot Ness did?
Elliot Ness did.
What, you mean when they brought drinking back again?
Well, not only when they brought drinking back, but the pressure that was heaped upon him.
No, but he didn't drink while there was prohibition, very, very sensibly, because it was against the law.
No. When they brought it back, he became an alcoholic.
That's what I'm saying.
And he died in a one-room, grotty apartment somewhere on the edge of Chicago as a lone and lost figure, worn down by years of standing up against the brutality of Al Capone and organised crime. Yeah. And all this thing about the Untouchables, by the way, they weren't Untouchables. I mean, he was just a bit of a Jesus. Christ happy clappy freak and
Jesus Christ happy clappy freak.
Yeah.
Is that the technical term?
Well, if you know what I mean. And the point is, in the end, he didn't have any friends really because a lot of the cops didn't like him much because they couldn't accept huge bribes from Al Capone.
Surely he was simply a man who his religion had nothing to do with it. The fact was that he was just a man who thought upholding the rule of law was very important because, as you know from the movie, when he took over, he found that loads of police officers actually took a drink.
Yes.
And he said, I don't care what you've done before this. I don't care what you do if it's made legal again. But right now it's illegal and I don't want you to do it anymore. Yeah,
I thought Kevin Costner playing
It's a great film.
No, Kevin Costner...
It's one of those films I watch every now and again.
Kevin Costner made Elliot Ness look like a bleeding heart liberal who was doing it because I want my children to grow up in a country that tells the truth and's got moral fibre. I mean,
you wouldn't understand anything like that.
Well, of course I understand it, but I just think it was...
Have you seen the time, by the way?
It's pretty pathetic. Now, listen, we're going to talk...
You know what you're doing, don't you? You're filibustering. Do you know what that means?
No, of course I know what it means.
What does it mean?
It means wasting time in Parliament so as the real issue is never discussed.
Exactly. And the real issue is Everton. The real issue is Roberto Martinez. The real issue is the Merseyside derby.
It is.
And what's going to be happening once Everton are beaten by Liverpool and knocked out the FA Cup? That's the question.
What a stupid surmise.
Well,
stupid.
Surmise. We'll be back. Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, and will, of course, also be the latest edition of Ask Porky coming up. I've got some great questions. Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm assessing things. Assessing.
You're assessing things. There's a lot of interesting tweets that have come in, actually.
Really?
One particularly, I've just caught my eye, from Alex, who says this at the Two Mikes. More gerrymandering by Porky. I tried to vote at 4 p.m. UK time, but it appeared to be closed.
What?
Seems Porky paid someone off.
No.
Hashtag plank.
No, not at all.
James says vote Porky, vote often, which I'm afraid is still a very recurrent theme.
Yes.
Jokur says 5 seconds in and Porky's shouting again.
Yeah, I'm not.
Proud Dad says 50-50. Yeah. I didn't vote as you were both weak, but I would have gone for old MG. Add my vote and it's sorted.
Yeah.
No, well, we've already declared
just don't bother voting again, pal, whatever your name is.
We've already... Well, he hasn't voted at all. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, well, don't vote future then, because he was going to vote for you.
Yeah. Steve says this, if there was an odd number of votes, one of you must have more than the other. He's not daft, this guy, Steve.
Yeah, he's not stupid,
But the thing is, Steve, it's percentages, and I don't know how Twitter does it, which is why it's always been ludicrous for anyone to suggest that I've in some way mixed up the vote, because I don't decide what it is. People vote, 700 and however many, and the machine itself gives the percentage.
Now, one of those correspondents was Alex, yeah?
Alex, yes.
You don't get many Alex in life, do you?
Yeah, you do.
No, you don't.
There's loads of Alexes.
No, there's not. It's a rare name. But one of my great-uncles was Uncle Alex.
Uncle Alex.
A great guy.
Was he mad as well?
Well, he was a bit, but we didn't know why he was mad for so many years. And then we found out.
What?
Found out he had diabetes. And he was the first guy sort of diagnosed with diabetes in sort of North Wales.
Right.
Because he lived across the border in a place called Mould,
Mould, yes.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Where the Crown Court is.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And he was ever such a nice chap,
was he?
Uncle Alex. He was big, sturdy guy. He used to be a policeman in Liverpool.
Well, diabetes in those days was quite a serious illness.
He was 6'4".
It wasn't easy to manage, right?
Yeah, he was 6'4". And he wasn't mad at all, but in those days when little was known about medical science, he'd go into a bit of a, a dream, you know what I mean? And we didn't know what was going on. It's because he had diabetes and you get low blood sugar levels, you know what I mean? And then you start acting funny and all that kind of stuff because nobody knew.
Yeah.
But we found out that he had diabetes. Amazing story.
How did you find out?
Well,
Did you ask him?
Hey? No. Well, how he found out, actually.
Well, how did he find out?
Well, he liked to drink.
Yeah.
In fact, the only time my father ever took a drink was when he and Uncle Alex got together, if it was a sort of family reunion. Yeah.
Well, your father didn't drink other than that.
My father didn't drink for 27 years after the war.
What?
He didn't drink for 27 years. I don't know. He was a heavy drinker during the war, as all people were, trying to get away from the horrors of warfare and all that kind of stuff.
The horrors of warfare.
Well, he was a Navy sailor.
Well, yes, a Navy sailor.
Well, if you see what I mean.
Well, so you say.
He was a sailor.
What horrors of war did he witness?
Well, he witnessed all his mates getting blown up when his ship got attacked and sunk in the Atlantic.
He miraculously survived and everybody else died? Is that it?
Well, some of them died, and he did survive, yeah. Really? I mean, he was lucky. I mean, a lot of people did survive the war, but a lot of people unfortunately got killed.
Yeah, a lot of them did. But isn't it a coincidence that somebody related to you was involved in some massive battle and was not in any way injured?
No, it was just luck. It was just luck. Loads of men did die, unfortunately.
Just luck.
Well, of course it's just luck. What else do you think it is?
Well, I don't know.
Think we're the chosen ones or something?
Well, it might have been that either it didn't happen, or
it did happen.
Or it might be that he was somehow...
It's a Navy record.
Or it might somehow be that he wasn't putting himself in harm's way.
Well, you're suggesting my father was some kind of a coward.
Possibly.
That's a terrible thing to say.
Possible.
Well, your father didn't even fight in the war.
No,
your
he
father
wasn't
went
old
off
enough.
to Canada.
He wasn't old enough.
Well, he was old enough to fly Lancaster bombers,
apparently.
apparently.
To get nasty about it.
I thought you told me he was an instructor in Lancaster bomber warfare.
No, he wasn't. He was a navigator.
But if he was a navigator. He was old enough to get into a Lancaster bomber.
Yeah, but by the time he was trained...
Well, why didn't he navigate a Lancaster bomber over Dortmund and Bremen and Berlin instead of navigating it over a redwood forest in Canada? Because Canada actually were on our side. Didn't you know that?
I've explained to you many times, but you haven't been able to get into your thick head.
No, I haven't, because it doesn't make sense.
By the time he was trained,
the war was over. The war was over.
Yeah.
Oh, how lucky was that?
Yeah, but I don't pretend that he was involved in it.
How lucky was that?
I don't pretend that he was some kind of war hero, whereas you do. Because, of course, everybody who's related to you...
I just state the facts.
Everyone who's related to you is remarkable. For example, the guy called Alex is the first person in North Wales to ever have diabetes.
Well, yeah.
For example, you know, you had some other relative who was the first person ever to do something else.
Yeah, that's right.
They're all top of their field, aren't they?
Hang on, I was the first person in my family to have dilated cardiomyopathy. All right? Hey?
I don't think there's an award for that.
No, I was going to say to you about
my
uncle
Alex. On the subject of the name Alex, you don't think there are many people called Alex, do you?
Well, there aren't these days a lot. There's a few, I agree.
Yeah.
There's a few listed on an email here, like Alex Ferguson.
Alex Ferguson,
Alex McLeish.
Alex.
Alex Sanchez, Alex Song. Alex. Anyway,
Alex Litvinenko.
Right. So what happened was, whenever my dad and my Uncle Alex went for a drink, which is very rare, because my dad didn't drink. We had a few pints on Saturday night. When he went to the urinal, right? Well, he went to the urinal.
I don't know about what they did in the toilets.
No. This is a medical fact. The bottoms of his trousers went stiff. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous, but it was because the splashback, because there weren't splashback boards in those days.
This is very, very detailed.
Well, I'm sorry,
more
but
information that we require.
Well, I'm just telling you how it all happened. There was sugar in his urine, you know,
right,
and that made his trousers stiff,
right.
And that's how they found out my Uncle Alec had diabetes.
Well, he must have been putting quite a lot of that onto his trousers.
Well, he wasn't. It was like...
Did he never wash them? I mean, for heaven's sake,
well, I'm sure
was he some kind of old tramp?
No. That's a terrible thing to say about my Uncle Alex.
Yeah.
No, but that was... and then after that, he had to have, like...
So he went to the doctor and said, look, doctor, I've got this terrible problem. The bottoms of my trousers are very stiff.
Yes.
What do you think that could be caused by?
Well, no, somebody told him. It was one of those situations where, in conversation sometime, you know... I think he crossed his legs one time and somebody said, well, your trousers so stiff or something like that.
Right.
And he said, I don't know. And somebody said, you know what that could be? And then it went from there.
Maybe it was just that he hadn't washed them for a few weeks.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
A shocking story.
No. And then he... and then, do you know what they gave him as a... Do you know what his first prescription was to combat diabetes?
I don't know. Well, they didn't have insulin in those days.
No, they didn't have insulin. So do you know what it was?
No.
A Mars bar a day.
A Mars bar?
Yeah, Mars bar a day.
That's not a very good idea.
Well, there's loads of glucose in a Mars bar, and that's what you're missing.
Do you remember a guy called John King, who used to be the Bristol correspondent?
Yes,
for the
I know
Express?
very well.
His wife was a diabetic. And we went on a tour of Ireland, a golfing tour of Ireland.
Yes.
I can't remember why she was there,
right?
But there was various people in various cars, and she always used to carry like a croissant or something in her bag.
Oh, I see.
Because being a diabetic, if she didn't eat, she could become faint.
Yes, that's right.
And she used to have something sugary all the time.
In Godfather 3, Al Pacino nearly collapsed in the monastery, didn't he? Until they gave him a big...
You know what? Godfather 3 is a film that I've only watched once.
A big jug of orange juice, don't you remember?
No, it's a film I've only watched once, and I don't intend to watch it again because it's a terrible film.
I thought it was a bad film as well.
No.
I'll tell you something. You talked about the wives of... Because John King was a correspondent on the Daily Express in the West Country.
I just said that.
Do you remember gentleman John Lay?
John Lay, not really.
He was the Northern Ireland correspondent based in Belfast, right? And Johnny was an Englishman in Northern Ireland, you know, and he was a member of the local yacht club in, was it Newcastle up on the coast there? Yeah, yes. It was Newcastle, yeah. And
up towards the Giants Causeway.
That's right, yeah. And there's some great golf clubs around there, yeah.
Well, Port Rush, where Rory McIlroy comes from.
Absolutely. So old Johnny Lay, you know, gentleman John, oh, hello, John Lay, Daily Express. Of course, this went down very well in Northern Ireland, you know.
Yeah, I bet.
And he was invited into the yacht club and all that kind of stuff.
Not on the Falls Road.
Oh, no, he wasn't very popular down the Lower Falls. That's absolutely true. But anyway... There was a suspicion that, John knew a lot of coppers, you know, in the RUC, as it was in those days, Royal Ulster Constabulary.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of them used to come round to his house for drinks and all that, you know, making contacts and all that. And then John used to bore them to death by playing marching military music.
Right.
Military bands.
Yeah.
You know, not exactly, not the Beatles, is it? You know what I mean?
It's not, no.
And anyway,
they like a bit of marching band music down in Belfast.
Yeah, I think they do. But anyway, one night this copper came round, you know, and they're all having a party. And this cop mentioned, this superintendent or whatever, mentioned he had a lie detector machine in the car.
Right.
And anyway...
I wish we had a lie detector machine.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Anyway, everybody suspected that gentleman John Lay's wife was actually seeing, you know, somebody she shouldn't have been seeing.
Oh, right. What, for the RUC?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
That's a bit tricky, that, isn't it?
So they got the lie detector machine out the car, and they said, "Oh, come on!" I can't remember her name now. And by the way, if John's still alive, he is a great guy, and this is not a story telling against him. You know,
that's good. What about his wife?
Well, yeah, I'm sure she may still be alive. She's a lovely lady. But anyway, somebody said, "Oh, come on, I think her name is Angela. Might not have been Angela. Could have been something else.
Could have been Alex.
No, it wasn't Alex, definitely. Although a lady can be called Alex, of course.
Of course.
Alex Chung.
Alex Chung.
Isn't she a lady?
Yeah, why would you think of her?
I don't know. It's the first Alex lady I could remember.
What about Alex, the woman from, isn't she on the One Show? Alex somebody.
Oh, yes.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Do you remember Alexandra Bastardo?
Yes, Bastardo.
Bastardo, yeah, that's right. Yeah. She was in What's your problem?
She was in a couple of spaghetti westerns,
wasn't she in the Champions as well?
She was, I think, yeah.
You know, these people had mystical powers.
Bastido or something, yeah.
Yeah.
This is rubbish.
Do you know why they had mystical powers? Because they're in a private airplane that crashed on the top of the Himalayas.
That's right.
And these Tibetan monks rescued them and gave them magic powers. And then they could run at like 60 miles an hour and all this kind of stuff.
And none of them had stiff trousers, funnily enough. They've come a long way from diabetes.
No, that's
For heaven's sake.
Right,
we'll have to try and make some sense of all of this. Because you've just reminded me of a couple of stories as well. We will get to the end of whatever it is we're getting to
and we
very
must
soon.
talk about Everton. It's very important.
You see how he's trying to avoid it? You see what he's doing? Filibustering.
No,
This is Talk Sport.
Naughty boys in nasty schools, headmasters breaking all the rules, having fun and playing fools, smashing up the woodwork tools. All the teachers in the pub, passing round a ready rub, trying not to think of when the lunchtime bell will ring again. Oh, what fun we had, but did it really turn out bad? All I learned at school was how to...
Talk Sport, we are the two mics. Ask Porky coming up a little bit later on. I've got so many tweets that I should start reading some of these out.
Okay.
Craig says this.
Why are we playing Madness, by the way?
Well, because it's part of one of... I've told you before about our Spotify playlist, right? Right.
Okay, yeah.
We play quite a lot of songs on a regular basis, but also this is Baggy Trousers, isn't it?
Baggy trousers.
Yeah.
Oh, baggy trousers, the trousers. Clever, that.
It is
clever. That. I like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of thought goes into this show, you know.
Yes,
None of
that's
which comes from anything you produce.
Oh,
Here's one from Craig, who says, maybe Uncle Alex's trousers were bored stiff if the pub conversation was anything like Porky on the radio.
That's a bit harsh, isn't it?
How about this from Chris? Stiff trousers, family who's first at everything. What is Porky on? It's true, actually. Your family first at everything.
Well, you know, we're pathfinders, if you see what I mean. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Norman says, Rory McIlroy is from Bangor, guys, and Portrush is up the coast. Newcastle is in South Down. Great show. Okay. Yeah, well, the reason I say Portrush is his home course.
It is, isn't it, I think,
Here's one from David. Better start to the show than Everton, Porky. Thanks for the etiquette on peeing. You adhere to that when you're bladderated.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. It was a medical fact, you see. That's the only reason I was talking. I normally shy away from anything to do with lavatorial humour. I hate all that.
I
can't stand it. I really can't. So, but anyway,
there's
it was a
several
medical
other tweets which have to do with stiff trousers, which I'm not going to read out because they're not quite right.
No.
And here's one from Steve, who says, once again, Mike Parry's putting old MG's dad down. Open up winners and losers.
You put my dad down.
I did not.
You insinuated my father was a coward.
I asked a question, that was all.
Yeah, well, the question was a very leading question.
If it was anything to do with you, your father was single-handedly won World War II.
Well, I didn't say that, but he was very influential in
he was very influential.
I've been to the very spot.
What voice is that you've come up with?
To the very spot where he departed these shores on the D-Day invasion.
Well, that's what he told you.
He never knew he was going to come back.
Yeah, well, he did, though, didn't
My
he?
father walked around Goodison Park when he was 17 years of age, one last time, before he got on board his ship in the port of Liverpool and sailed off to war, and he didn't come back for 2.5 years. He didn't know if he'd ever see Goodison again.
Right.
I mean, these men made sacrifices.
He'd be turning in his grave if he saw what was going on at Goodison Park now, wouldn't he?
Well,
And what would he be saying about the Merseyside derby? Because I couldn't believe what I was hearing on the sports bar. Some people saying, well, of course, it's a nothing match. How could a Merseyside derby be a nothing match?
It's not a nothing match.
Roberto Martinez has to win against Liverpool. Otherwise, it's a miserable year for the rest of Everton fans, isn't it?
I think it was Davy Moyes' last season, but it might have been his penultimate one. I'll happily stand to be corrected there. But we had an important game following the derby in those days.
His penultimate one? What do you mean?
Well, the one before the last. You not know what penultimate
means? I know
means?
what penultimate means.
Yeah.
What do you mean it's the penultimate game?
No, penultimate season for Davy Moyes.
Oh, I see what you mean.
I said it was either in his last season or his penultimate season.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said this was the penultimate game for Roberto Martinez. I thought you were revealing to me that by the end of this weekend, having lost in the FA Cup semi-final and having lost to Liverpool, that will be the end for Roberto Martinez.
If you stop spending so much time playing with this stupid little device and listen to what I was saying...
I'm not playing with my stupid little device.
To what I was saying.
I'm trying to read out the many tweets that are coming in from our loyal listeners, which you don't bother doing.
Yes, I do. You wouldn't lose track with the drift of the argument. What I was saying was... Davey played a weakened team and we lost 3-0 against Liverpool, okay?
Yeah,
and there was a reason for it because we had a very important match coming up.
Yeah.
It went down very, very badly because there's an individual culture about the Everton-Liverpool game, the Merseyside derby, and I suppose people who've never got involved with that can't quite understand
it. But I said this earlier, I mean, look at what's happening in Scotland now. Because Rangers beat Celtic at the weekend, there is no talk on social media that I can see, and normally it's been all over the place, that, Rangers, this terrible, the zombies are coming back, this is only a 4-year-old team. How is it the old
Totally
firm?
agree.
All this stuff. Celtic fans have all gone very quiet.
See, I don't think it's the same in Manchester because the Manchester teams have spent more seasons not being in the same division as each other than the Everton teams,
the
Spurs and Arsenal, or Rangers and Celtic.
It's Liverpool, Man United, isn't it, really?
Yes, it is, yeah. I agree, yeah. Yeah.
Manchester City don't really have a rival, do they?
Who?
Manchester City.
Well, they're Manchester United, obviously, don't
well,
they?
no, but I mean, like you said, it's not like a Merseyside derby.
No,
it's not like Rangers Celtic. It's not like Liverpool Man. It's not like Arsenal Spurs.
No, it's not. No.
So who's their rival?
It's not even like Bradford City and Bradford Park Rangers when they used to be. You know what I mean?
Well, by the way, a lot of people pointed out that your suggestion at Cheltenham for the first team to go down and come straight back up again was complete rubbish.
No, I corrected them. Everyone that said that.
Complete rubbish.
I said the conference. I didn't say outside of the Football League. And remember, in 1990, when they claim it was last done by...
Lincoln? Was it?
No, it wasn't Lincoln, was it? Who was it? I don't know, some small little town team or whatever. But
dismissive.
No, not dismissive.
Yeah,
no, I'm not being dismissive. No, but anyway, there was no conference and there was no Premier League in those days. So it was the first time since the.
So is this a bit like you saying that so and so is the biggest goal scorer in the Premier League?
No. You've got to remember the Football League until 1993 consisted of 92 teams. And ever since has consisted of 72.
Really?
And it was
fascinating.
And it was the reconstituted Football League and the conference. Yeah. So I was absolutely right.
Really?
Now getting back to
I haven't finished reading out some of these tweets.
Okay.
How about this one from Andrew?
Right.
Elliot Ness died of a heart attack in Pennsylvania, not of alcoholism in Chicago. Just saying.
Well, he had a very deep interest in bladderation matters just before he died, believe me.
Well, of course he had a deep interest in it because he was enforcing prohibition.
No, he was drinking it. He was making up for the lost years. By the way, it was the most stupid law that any country in the free world has ever imposed upon its people, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I suppose
it is.
You might have said that there have been other things imposed upon people which have been more damaging to them.
I said in the free world. In the free world, to say to somebody you can't have an alcoholic drink, I mean, it's a madness.
Well, what would you refer to as the free world?
The free world is a world where people vote democratically for those who rule them.
What, like, I mean, in Germany just before the war, for example, that was the free world.
Yes, it was, yeah.
Yeah, well, they imposed a few things on people that were a bit more dangerous than not drinking.
Well, you could say that, except for the fact that you've got to remember the democratic process only went so far in pre-war Germany.
Yeah, but people elected Hitler, didn't they? He didn't just take power.
They elected Hitler when they thought Hitler was a quote, national socialist.
Doesn't matter what they thought. The point
thought he was going to spread wealth and all that.
They elected him.
Yeah, but then he changed himself into a dictator. So it wasn't a free government that imposed the horrendous strictures upon the German people.
Right.
It was a dictatorship.
How about this one from Les in
You don't know
Manchester?
much about European history, you?
Yeah. Well, you haven't worked out what you're going to do the quiz on yet. I was listening to H&J today, he says, and they played the theme tune to the old TV show Branded, starring Chuck Connors. Remember that one?
No,
Branded.
I don't think I do.
Born with a Sword of Shame. Remember that
Branded.
one? What do you do when you're branded, when you fight for your name? I'm not going to sing it. You don't remember that?
What do you do when you're branded?
When you fight for your name, you must remember.
When you fight for your name. This is
a
Western.
Yeah, it was like a Western show, and at the beginning he's standing there, and they strip the stripes off him, and they strip the
I remember that a bit. Yeah,
here he is.
Not a charge was true.
You sure the charge was true?
But the world would never know. Branded.
That's it.
Scorned as the one who ran. What do you do when you're branded and you know you're a man?
Well, that's a bit of a dilemma, that, isn't it?
What?
What do you do when you're branded and you know you're a man? Eh? I mean,
life you must prove.
Chuck Connors.
You're a man. You don't remember that?
Yeah, well, I remember Chuck Connors.
Yeah.
Wasn't he in The Rifleman as well? Didn't he carry a big rifle around, go around blowing people away?
I don't know.
Yeah, he did. He did. Yeah, I remember.
That might have been before my time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was going to read you the rest of this.
Okay.
Anyway, this guy says, Les in Manchester says, it would be great if you could play some old TV themes during your show after each break, especially from the 60s and 70s. Well, thanks for the suggestion, Les.
Yeah,
We'll see.
yeah.
But anyway, he then says,
Yes.
could you please ask Mr. Parry, when he worked at Daily Express on Great and Coat Street, did he frequent the drinking establishment across the road from the Express in Newton Street, which was called the Land of Cakes? where I remember most of the guys from the Express used to come into every day.
Yeah.
And I had many a conversation with some of them. And if Mr. Parry went in there, he was probably one of the people I spoke to.
Not only was the Land of Cakes one of the Express drinking pubs, there was one next door in the same building as the Black Ruby Amber.
That's not what I asked you.
Called the Crown and Kettle. But the Land of Cakes was brilliant, right?
So did you go in there?
All the time.
Right.
And a guy called Jerry Dempsey, who was a Welshman, you know.
Jerry Mander.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. No, old Jerry Dempsey.
The time, by the way.
Jerry Dempsey had a very red face, and he was the most idle, amongst the most idle journalists in the world.
Yeah.
He never wrote anything. He just stayed in the Land of Cakes all day, got completely bladdered, picked up a big salary for doing nothing, and occasionally, when they wanted a colour piece written at, some terrible disaster like a plane crash in Yorkshire or something, they'd find a car and put Jerry in it and send him over there. He could never drive because he was always too bladderated. And his famous claim was always he'd written the piece before he got there. He was that good, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then he'd turn around and come back to the Land of Cakes. The Land of Cakes used to rent out rooms above the bar for £1 a night to bladderated Daily Express journalists.
Really?
£1 a night.
Shocking.
Bed and breakfast.
Absolutely horrendous. What a terrible way to live your life. This is Talk Sport. Sounds like a TV theme. Do you recognise that?
That was the Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Was it?
Yeah.
I had a Man from U.N.C.L.E. car.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't have one of those. I didn't know they had a car.
Yeah, they had a car, yeah.
Oh,
well, you know, they had like a blue Chevrolet or something.
No, they didn't have a car. They used to jet all around the world and solve, terrible crimes and all that kind of stuff.
No, and they also had, on the bonnet of the car, they had the sort of the globe that was their sign.
Oh,
I
see,
the company that they worked for, whatever it's called.
Well, they must use that just to poodle around Manhattan near the United Nations building.
But the thing that was good about the car was that when you pressed the top, there was a kind of almost like a police light on the top, or something like that.
Yeah.
But when you pressed it, one of them came out either side of the car with a gun.
Oh, really?
That was a great car. It was like a dinky toy.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
What did Uncle stand for?
Uncle, I don't know.
Oh, come on, tell me.
I don't know.
You must know if you watch the programme and you had the car.
Well, I watched it when I was about 6.
United Nations Command for Law and Enforcement.
Yeah, well, I don't have a memory like yours. I remember the things that I did yesterday. I don't remember the things that I did when I was 6.
Yeah.
You, on the other hand, are completely the opposite way around.
What was the name of the Russian agent?
Don't know.
Ilya Kuryakin.
No, Ilya Kuryakin was one of the men from U.N.C.L.E.
That's what I'm
He
saying.
wasn't a Russian agent.
Well, he was the Russian agent in U.N.C.L.E. The whole thing.
He wasn't a Russian agent, was he?
He was. The whole purpose of the plot in U.N.C.L.E. was that Napoleon Solo was the American agent and Ilya Kuryakin was the Russian agent who worked together for the United Nations Command for Law and Enforcement. Don't you get it? What was the front for the U.N.C.L.E. headquarters?
I don't know. Why are you quizzing me on the Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
Do you know what it was?
I haven't watched it for years.
Do you know what it was?
Decades.
Do you know what it was?
I don't know.
It was, down near the end of your road when you lived in Manhattan, there was a little Chinese laundry shop.
What?
Chinese laundry.
Where?
In the road you lived in Manhattan.
No, there wasn't.
There was.
No.
There was. Well, there was at
30th
one
Street.
time. No, I'm not sure. It was the one before you lived in. Anyway.
East 81st Street.
Yeah. But anyway, the point is...
No, there wasn't one there either.
Well, I used to use one and used to walk down the steps into the shop, take your shirts in.
Yeah.
That was the front for...
Oh, that was on 2nd Avenue.
That's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
That was the front for U.N.C.L.E.
What, in that shop?
Well, what they used to do is they used to walk in.
I had no idea.
No, they used to
I
walk
see how
in.
my shirt's done there as well.
Here, they used to walk in, and then the bloke, the steam iron thing, the double-handed steam iron you bring down on the shirts to press them.
Yeah.
When he brought that down, a door opened at the back behind the curtain.
Why do you remember all this?
And you went into U.N.C.L.E. HQ, which was the size of, the size of a small city, actually, behind the Chinese
You said it was a bit like the TARDIS.
laundry. Yeah, it was a bit like the TARDIS, yeah.
Okay. Well,
Anyway,
thanks very much for that.
Yeah. Now...
Keith says the Land of Cakes has gone now. It's a Bem Brazil restaurant.
Oh, is it really?
What's a Bem Brazil restaurant?
I don't know. I'll tell you what else was opposite, was Yates's Wine Lodge, one of the roughest in the north of England. Used to get drunks thrown out there on a regular basis. Not me, I hasten to add, but other low-life drunks, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Lord Rilo says, there's no reports of Elliot Ness being an alcoholic. Where does Porky get this rubbish? More projection from Porky.
No, he did. He had a terrible problem with drink. I mean, I feel sorry for him, obviously.
Of course.
Don't want to take the mickey out of him, anything like
now,
that.
getting a lot of flack from Manchester City fans. Here's one from Mike who says, 350 million people watched the April 2012 Manchester derby.
Yeah, but that was around the world.
130,000 watched it, the derby live. The world's biggest derby fact.
Yeah.
130,000 people.
Watched it
Where?
live? What do you mean by that?
Well, I presume that means in a stadium. You could get 130,000 people into Manchester United or Manchester City, could you?
The last time there were 130,000 people in a stadium in Great Britain was in about 19...
Well, it would have been like at Hampden when they didn't have any
seats.
About
1938. Yeah, something like that.
When they didn't have any seats.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, I've got a few Celtic fans now giving me a hard time.
Oh, yeah.
Andy in Glasgow. Very anti-Celtic comment, Mr. G. Thought of you as a serious journalist.
What did you say?
Well, I said that Celtic fans have gone very quiet since they lost to Rangers.
Well...
Which they have.
No, I
don't think that's an anti-Celtic comment at all.
No, I don't. The normal reaction to getting beaten in any derby match is put your head down for a few days because the bragging rights have gone to the other side and it's not pleasant.
And then here's one from 71 Hail Hail. Not just because of the game versus Cheat Co. We have to do better in Europe. Celtic always bounce back without tax-avoiding debts.
Yeah.
Well, Celtic are in a pretty bad way at the moment, even though they're winning the Premiership in Scotland.
Yes.
But to lose to Rangers, who have been in lower divisions for the last 3 years...
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
In the first time you play them,
yes.
It's a pretty shameful thing for a Celtic fan to have to admit to, isn't it?
Well, I don't think it's shame. I don't think it's shameful.
I don't think it's anti...
I think it's depressing.
But it's not anti-Celtic. It's just a statement of fact.
Yeah, it's depressing. You're absolutely right.
Anyone who knows me knows that I'm very far from anti-Celtic.
Okay. Now, listen, let me ask you this question.
Go on.
Do you know what Man U Mail is?
Man U Mail?
Yeah.
Something to do with Manchester United email?
Well, listen, you know what blackmail is, don't you?
I do.
Right. Do you know what green mail is?
I do.
Green mail is when you sort of ramp up a company.
Well, green mail is a sort of corporate device,
it's a corporate device. You ramp up a company.
Get control of a company.
The shares go up.
You offer a load of money to the shareholders to sell the shares to you.
Yeah.
And you end up owning the company.
Yeah. Or you can threaten to pull out after you've ramped the shares up and ruin people who have become the new shareholders and they sell to you and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a kind of Gordon Gekko-esque scenario.
It is. Now, guess what Man U Mail is?
Man U Mail, I don't know.
In my opinion, in my humble opinion... My allegation is that Man U Mail is putting out stories that Jose Mourinho is wanted first of all by...
You've made up.
Hang on.
You've made this up, haven't you?
Hang on. He's wanted first of all by Real Madrid, right? Yeah. That bubbled for a few days.
They may well still be the truth.
And then the story is out now tonight. He's wanted by PSG.
There was a story at the weekend, was there not, which I had reported on some weeks ago, that Everton were interested in hiring him as well.
They put out the story that Everton's new billionaire has made approaches to Jose Mourinho. This is Man U Mail. This is Man U Mail.
Where do you get Man U Mail from?
It's trying to blackmail Manchester United into appointing Jose Mourinho.
Oh, I see. But
you're
the one that says that they should appoint them.
Well, I think they should. I can't understand why they haven't. I think it's ridiculous. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, clearly, the lobby that believes that Jose Mourinho should go to Manchester United, and quite a lot of people will do very well out of that, by the way, if he does.
Are you talking about Jorge Mendes?
He represents him, so of course he'll do well if he pulls off a deal.
You haven't mentioned PSG yet.
Well, I did. I said that. The story bubbling tonight, I said, was that he may be going to PSG.
Yeah.
Jose Mourinho would be a madman to go to PSG.
Why?
Because the only thing they compete for of any worth is the Champions League.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even start until February.
Yeah, but they're in it all the time, though.
Yeah, but it doesn't even start till February. What's he going to do for the first half of the season?
What do you mean it doesn't start till February?
It doesn't start.
What are you talking about?
Well, it doesn't start in earnest until
Group stages
February.
are on in October.
The group stages mean nothing.
That's
What I'm saying is
That's
the real business of the Champions League doesn't start till February.
So I suppose in your mind the FA Cup only starts at the weekend, does it?
No, the FA Cup starts with the third round in January.
No, it doesn't. It starts with the first round.
No, it doesn't. No.
Yes, it does.
No, it's irrelevant. That's all the little clubs. It's irrelevant.
Oh, irrelevant?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're the man that's a great supporter of grassroots football.
They just play qualifiers to get into the third round where we have the giant killing games.
The qualifiers are before the first round.
Anyway, the point of the story is, do you think Jose...
you've lost the plot.
Do you think Jose is going to take charge of a team that every other week goes and plays some nondescript, unknown French team like Brest or something like that, who have a capacity of 4,200... and then just wait for the Champions League to come along to actually do anything of any worth and win anything of any value?
Yes, I think he would go there, actually, because they'll pay him a great deal of money and the man wants a job. So
I don't think he would.
Well, we'll talk some more about that coming up very shortly. It is, of course, Ask Porky coming up later on tonight. We're going to go across to New York. Why are we speaking German again? We're going to come across to New York and find out what's going on with the primaries as well. This is Talk Sport.
Where is my mind? Where is my mind?
Talk Sport, we are the two mics. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to go over to New York and find out how Mr. Trump and Ms. Clinton are getting on over in the New York primaries. I'm very happy to say that Andy in Glasgow, fine man, who criticised me earlier for being anti-Celtic, has forgiven me after my explanation. Although Richard from Huddersfield Town says, MG and Porky, can I correct you? Last season, Celtic beat Rangers 2-0 in the League Cup. Yeah, but that's not the point, though. This is the game before they come back into the Premiership.
By the way, what was the cup that Rangers won a few weeks ago? I can't work out what it was. It wasn't the League Cup.
No, it was some kind of minor cup, wasn't it?
Well,
bit like the,
it wasn't the League Cup.
It's like their version of the St Johnstone's Paint Trophy, I believe.
Oh, was it? And Rangers won that, did they? I see. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Sean says this, according to my journals, David Moyes' favourite and Ronnie Delia, according to Norwegian reports, is going at the end of the season. So David Moyes might end up as the new Celtic manager.
Well, I think everybody knows that Ronnie Delia's going, don't they? I mean, I don't have any official information, but I take it from his body language and the reaction of the fans and the unhappiness at the club that a new manager is needed, a fresh start, and the new challenge from Rangers next season, all that kind of stuff. It'd be wise to get a new manager. As for Davy Moyes going there, well, I wouldn't rule it out, but how do you say this? I think Davy thought that might have been, the job maybe before Everton, not after it. I mean, that's and he's been Manchester United manager now.
Yeah.
So I'm not belittling any manager who's managed Manchester United going to Celtic in any way. Celtic are a huge club worldwide. Their fan base stands up with anybody else's. But I wonder if the challenge is sufficient, really, because of Scotland's small population and the fact that two teams dominate the whole of the football scene.
Mike says this, I was a messenger at the Express in the 80s and Porky was a great bloke to get things for.
Really?
Which I think he's saying genuinely.
Really?
Yeah.
What's that chap's name?
Mike.
Mike, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much indeed.
I don't remember a messenger called Mike, but you never know. He's the same guy that's been talking about the Manchester Derby, and he says 130,000 people over the 2 Premier League games. That's what I see.
Yeah.
John says, New York City update, World of Beers is now closed and Chinese cleaners are actually run by Koreans, Porkmeister.
Yeah, well, that's okay. They're still efficient businesses. It's a good place to get your shirts done.
It certainly is. Sport, we are the two mics. Coming up a little bit later on this hour, we're going to go over to New York, speak to John Green, who's the editor at America Blog, who's going to tell us about the New York primaries, which has just been announced that Donald Trump has won New York. Gary says this, who lives in New York, it's an important time to let your listeners know the mindsets of residents in New York City and New York State are very different. Hashtag Trump wins. I think you'd be correct about that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Because in New York City, you'd normally expect people not to be particular fans of Donald Trump.
No, that's right. It's a metropolis, isn't it? Full of liberal-type thinking people.
Yeah, we'd think so, yeah.
Well, it is.
Certainly not people that would agree with an awful lot of what Trump comes out with.
No, despite the fact that he's got one of the biggest buildings on Manhattan, isn't he?
Yeah, but
Trump
I mean, he's
Tower.
like a Richard Branson figure, isn't he? I mean, he's one of these guys that does, he lends his name to things, makes a lot of money out of them, sometimes moves on, sometimes retains some ownership in them and all that kind of thing. The thing that amazed me was when he came out with that blunder about 7/11 instead of 9/11.
Unbelievable.
But it doesn't seem to have affected his kind of popularity at all, which in New York you would have thought it might have done.
None of these things seem to. Now, we haven't got to the bottom of the Roberto Martinez.
Well, yeah, because I haven't asked you the pertinent question, which I wanted to ask you the first hour, but for some reason we were meandering around about sort of, the Navy and, stiff trousers and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
What my question to you is if Liverpool don't sort of just beat Everton, they kind of humiliate them.
Well, I'm not even thinking about that, to be honest.
But it's a possibility, isn't it?
No, I don't think it is a possibility.
All right. Well, let's say they win.
Yeah.
And let's say Everton don't win at the weekend.
Yes.
So therefore, at this time of next week, you're looking into the abyss of nothingness that is Everton's season.
Yes.
Finishing, if you have any great luck in the last few games, somewhere in the top half. Surely it's at that point that the ownership, whether it's the new ownership or the current ownership, thinks about whether Roberto Martinez is the right guy.
Well, I think there'll be a terrific surge of displeasure from Everton fans because already...
There already is, isn't there?
Yeah, there already is. Everton fans are not traditionally... disloyal to their manager. We've had some managers over the years, maybe in the last 30 or 40 years, Gordon Lee,
Yeah.
Who kind of nearly got there but didn't, if you see what I mean. He
Yeah.
was always on the cusp of trying to do something. We had the Irish guy who played for us, Billy Bingham, was in the same sort
Billy
of
Bingham, yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
We had Mr. Smith, the former Rangers manager.
Walter Smith.
Again,
he did all right, didn't he?
Well, he was very middle of the road stuff. I mean, he had the unfortunate situation of having Duncan Ferguson sold from under his feet, literally. After a home game at Everton, he was coming down the stairs. Duncan was coming up. Duncan said, "I've been sold."
Yeah.
And Walter apparently didn't know about it. He went to Newcastle, then he came back. So we had a lot of sort of middle-ranking managers who, before Howard Kendall came along and became the best manager we've ever had. And the Everton fans were tolerant. About we used to finish like 6th or something like that. You know what I mean? Or 6th down to 10th or down to 12th in the poor season, something like that. And there's a lot of tolerance. There's no tolerance at the moment for Roberto Martinez.
No.
And I'm quite shocked to have seen those banners coming out at an away game in particular. Martinez out. And the club will have to react to it because the club is no longer made up just of Mr. Kenwright being at the head of it all, with a new board and a new owner who, as I understand it, is gathering full control of the board by degrees, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But will own, I think, a majority shareholding by the start of next season. Undoubtedly, the new owner...
And next season is the money season, really, isn't it?
Of course it is. And the new owner will want to make an immediate impression in stating his objectives. And I think Roberto has carried 2 seasons of failure with him now, which is going to be hard for him to reverse.
Well, you've often said and used the phrase they've been punching beneath their weight, which I think is true.
Absolutely punching beneath
and to
their
have
weight.
such a bad
quality
record,
of players.
and to have such a bad record at home, you'd have to say the manager must take the blame for that to a large extent.
See, the strangest thing is these 3 players who mean everything to us, John Stones, bought by Davy Moyes.
Yeah.
He was the last purchase Davy Moyes made. I think it was February 2013.
Yeah.
Okay, I think he was the last purchase he made from Barnsley.
From Barnsley, yeah.
He gave Ross Barkley his debut, as I recall, because I was there, in his last season, and we played QPR at home on the opening day, and I think we lost 1-0. But it was Ross Barkley's debut as a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
And Lukaku was first brought to Everton by Davy Moyes. I'm pretty sure in saying that, on loan.
Yeah, I would have been right, yeah.
And then
have you
later...
seen that he's been linked with Borussia Dortmund lately, by the way?
He's been linked with a lot of clubs in Europe for between 50 and 60 million quid.
Flip to deal with Obama Yang.
Yeah, exactly.
Not easy for me to say.
So what I'm saying is the spectre and the shadow of Davy Moyes hangs over Goodison Park, although there is no talk of Davy Moyes coming back.
No.
That is a
well,
chapter
we're hearing
of our
now
history.
that he might be going to Celtic.
Well, exactly. It's a chapter of our history which has come and gone. And what people are thinking is that if the team that has now evolved from roots sown by Davy Moyes, which is now mature, Davy Moyes is still in charge, would have been able to do something better with it than Mr. Martinez has done. Yeah. That's the question people are asking.
And that is the question that will become a much bigger question,
yes.
and they will find an answer to it, I'm sure. Now, how about this from Shuggy in Edinburgh? He says, the car in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. was an Oldsmobile.
Right.
And he says, good show. Are you at the Fringe this year? Actually, we are at the Edinburgh Fringe
We are
this
at the
year.
Edinburgh Fringe.
We've got an announcement coming on that. It'll be towards the end of August.
Yeah.
You're asking where. I can't tell you at the moment because I'm not actually sure. But
no, we don't know.
We'll be there for a period of time. Mick from Sheppey says, on this occasion, I regret to say that the legend that is Mr. Parry, I think there's a missing word there, but I too had a Man from U.N.C.L.E. car, he says.
Yeah, right. OK, well, that's great. But I was puzzled as to why it was the anti-thrush car. And I thought that might be
referring... because somebody sent that in. Well, Thrush was the name of, like, Spectre.
Well, exactly. I've just realised that now. I thought they were talking about
them... was going back to your STDs
Well, exactly. I thought they were fighting some sort of dreadful sexual disease or something like that.
That was yesterday's show.
Yeah, it was yesterday's show, yeah.
Here's one from someone who doesn't give a name, unfortunately. He said, hi, Mike, just letting you know, the first football match I went to was the 1973 Scottish Cup final, and the official attendance was over 130,000 at Hampden.
Wow.
And that's just the ones who paid to get into the gate.
Exactly.
There must have been another 10,000 plus who got into the ground by any means possible.
Pretty crazy,
and
that.
He says, keep up the good work, Mike Graham. So he must mean he doesn't like you.
Sorry?
Well, he says, keep up the good work, Mike Graham. He doesn't say Mike Parry.
No, just keep up the work.
Keep up the good work, Mike Graham, it says. Unless that's his name, which would be unusual.
Yeah, well, I think that's his sent to both of us.
Yeah.
We share the same name, obviously.
Yeah.
Now then, what else do you want to talk about?
Well, I've got the liars thing that I want to talk to you about. So we didn't finish the conversation about the lie detector.
Oh, yeah. Now, also I'd tell you about that. No, sorry, what I meant was, football-wise, I'd be very disappointed if Jamie Vardy got more than an extra game ban.
2 games total.
Yeah, that's terribly unfair to take the young fella out of...
You say that.
Well, say young, he's not that young. To take him out of the mix.
And, for a player of his experience to behave like that, you'd have to say he's going to have to take whatever punishment
I think you've got to give some allowance for the very, very high-profile, high-stress situation he's found himself in at the end of an amazing season, in which I personally, as a member of the Football Writers Association, have voted for him as Footballer of the Year.
Well, you've already voted for him.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Well, you may have been premature.
Well, I may have been because it's open until May the 1st. And I mean, Harry Kane has got to be the other contender. If Spurs win it, then Harry Kane, I think, gets the vote.
But you've already voted, or would you gerrymander it and try and vote again?
No, I haven't actually pressed the button.
Oh, so you haven't voted?
No, I haven't voted electronically, but I know...
What do you mean? You voted or you haven't voted?
No, I haven't voted, but I know in my head who I'm going to vote for at the moment. It's going to be Jamie Vardy, OK?
Well, it sounds to me like you're wavering.
Well, I could be wavering if Harry Kane suddenly becomes the centre-forward for the
Is there any voting process
champions
that you're involved in, which is not like some kind of Banana Republic situation?
No, don't be talking like that.
Don't be talking like that.
No.
Where did you get that voice
And
from?
by the way, on the lie detector...
Yeah. We haven't got time for this now.
Angela ran out the house when somebody brought it in.
Really?
They brought it in through the front door. She ran out the back door.
Wow. Fascinating stuff.
Never to be seen again.
Well, I'm going to talk about lying coming up next on TalkSport.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Tell me lies, tell me lies. Oh no, no, you can't disguise. You can't disguise. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes. Ask Porky coming up in the next hour. We'll be talking about Donald Trump's victory in the New York primary coming up in a little while as well, with one of our experts over in that part of the world, John Green, editor at America Blog.
Yep.
Now, I spotted this thing and I thought it was perfect for you. This way of you're saying that we spoke about this last week, but I think that was a different study that you found, which is all about body language.
The body language and how police can tell now whether a man is lying, whether interviewing him. Yes.
And this is more about how you kind of spot a liar because of what they say, rather than what they actually do.
Right.
It says here, liars may split hairs, decline to answer, and change the subject or tone. Mm-hmm. Right?
So give me an example.
Well, for example, if I said to you, how old are you?
Yes.
What would your answer be?
Well, you're not asking me that, are you? No.
Well, I am.
No.
So you're declining to answer?
Yes.
Why?
Because I feel it's an intrusion of my privacy.
Do you?
Yes.
Well, even though you revealed it in Manchester?
What?
By accident. Do you not remember?
There were only 400 people in the room at the time.
And they were all forced to sign a document.
Exactly.
You may split hairs if I was to say to you, for example, I don't know, if I was to ask you a question about what you did today.
What did I do today?
What did you do today?
Why do you want to know?
Because it's of interest to our listeners.
Sorry, is this a policeman asking a suspect the question, or is it you asking me?
So you're changing the subject?
No.
Now?
No.
So that's another sign?
No, not at all.
Well,
no.
what did you do today? It's a
What did I do
straightforward question,
today?
yeah.
I looked after my affairs.
Your affairs?
Yes.
What does that mean?
I checked things out.
What things?
Things that I have to check out to make sure that my life runs,
now you're changing the tone.
No, my life runs efficiently along the railway lines of life.
Uh-huh. Would you say that's splitting hairs?
No, it's not splitting hairs at all. And by the way, it's a bit of, what's it got to do with you type territory.
I see. All right, so basically you've now fulfilled all three of the requisites of a liar. Splitting hairs, declining to answer, and changing the subject or tone. In fact, 4 things.
It's not lying to adopt an air of privacy. That is not lying.
Okay, well, what would you like me to ask you about that you can tell me the truth about then? Or sort of question, you'd like me to ask you a question you can answer?
Okay.
What would that be?
How much did I donate to charity today?
How much did you donate to charity today?
50 quid.
Which charity?
I donated it to a chap who contacted us, actually. He's a listener who is running the London Marathon.
Oh, yeah. That's this weekend.
That's this weekend.
They've already started putting the fences down to make a road.
That's right, yeah. And, wanted some help in... He's trying to raise £1,500, so I sent him a cheque for 50 quid.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Very nice.
Okay?
Very nice.
See, I'm not being, I'm not splitting hairs about that, am I?
No, that's good, because what it says here is you need to get a baseline, right? A sense of what people look and talk like when their guard is down and they're telling the truth.
You can ask me what I did this afternoon if you want.
What did you do this afternoon?
I constructed my new bird table in my... What's your problem?
Where did you get that from?
My housekeeper bought it for me.
She bought it for you?
Yes.
Where? Was it come in kit form?
Yeah, she bought it.
Kit form bird table?
Yeah, at B&Q.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why did she buy it there?
Because that's where she was getting my plants, my new plants.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, shall we not have a picture of this new bird table then?
Well, it's a bird table. It's a black one.
What's it made of?
Metal.
Metal.
And it's got a little metal bird on the top to attract other birds. Do you know what I mean?
Well, because birds really like the look of a black metal bird.
Well, yeah, why not?
The black bird. What is it, the Maltese falcon you're reenacting?
No. It's,
falcon ridiculous.
No. And then the little birds sit on the edge of it, right? And they dip their beaks into the water.
A picture.
Why?
We need to see a picture.
Well, I don't mind taking a picture, but I think that one bird table is probably the same as many others.
This one sounds like a special one. How long did it take you to put together?
Not long.
Not long?
No.
How much did it cost?
£37.50.
How much?
£37.50.
That's expensive.
Yeah, well,
for a bird
it's
table.
a good bird table.
Did you buy any bird food?
Yes.
What sort?
They look like tennis balls. I've never seen bird food like it before. I thought you got bird food was like, rice and stuff. You know what I mean? Well, not rice, but it looked like, the stuff that birds peck at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like almost like sort of cat litter type stuff. You know what I mean?
I see.
But it isn't. It comes now in literally.
I've seen those balls.
Yeah, like balls. You've seen those, have you?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've put a few of those up in the garden.
What time did you get to work tonight?
What time did I get in work?
Yeah. What time did you get here tonight?
Here?
Yes.
To the Talksport Tower complex.
Yeah, that's splitting hairs.
No.
See, now you've changed your tone again.
No.
You're telling the truth about the bird table and the bird food.
I would say, let me see, that would have been...
You get to the nearest 5 minutes.
11:25.
11:25.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It says here on your Twitter, 22:56, which is 4 minutes to 11, arriving shortly at Talksport Towers.
Yes.
So that was half an hour early. Half an hour earlier than you say you got here.
No, that was after I'd parked the car, got my stuff out the car, booted up my computer.
Where'd you park your car at Uxbridge?
No. Just along the road a bit, But I had things to do before I got into the main foyer of the building.
I see.
Okay?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. I think
Happy
we've
with
established that you're a liar. Liars split hairs, decline to answer, and change the subject or tone.
No.
It's very straightforward.
I don't do any of that. I don't do any of that.
And why do you not, despite the many requests from the listeners,
yes,
take a picture of yourself by the clock when you get in?
Well, because I think that's self-serving, to be honest.
Yeah.
Do I have to really prove how many hours I work at this show on a
nightly basis? Well, no, you just have to prove that when you send out a thing saying just arriving at Talksport, that you actually are. Yeah, because they don't believe you.
Well, I mean, it's a bit irrelevant. We don't come on air till 1 o'clock. As long as I'm here behind the microphone, fully boned up on the subjects we're going to discuss for the next 3 hours, I don't think it's a problem. I'll tell you what I'm going to talk to you about.
It's troubling, though, isn't it?
No, it's not troubling.
It is.
No, it's not troubling. Listen.
Why are you changing the subject?
Well, I'm changing the subject because this is very important. It's important to the lifestyle that we lead and those of millions of our listeners, okay?
Okay.
This is great. They've done a new report which has clarified now that middle-aged Britons are risking their health by, they've got this new expression, preloading with vast quantities of alcohol at home.
Preloading?
Yeah, before a night out. Many also round off the evening with a few nightcaps after they get back.
Yeah, but the difference between what you might regard as normal middle-aged people and us is that we don't go out at night.
No.
I mean, if we do go out drinking, it's usually during the day when we're not working. But we haven't got the luxury of being able to go out drinking at night.
Weekends we can.
At the weekend? No, I don't.
No, I don't.
I'm at home with the kids.
No, I agree.
If I drink, I'll drink it at home.
But I mean, the thing is, they've got the perspective of this all wrong. Listen to this now. This is from this official research document done by some, quango body, probably paid for out of the public... Sheffield University.
Sheffield University.
Yeah.
Sheffield Hallam?
No, just says Sheffield University, actually. I went there for an interview, actually, to do law. Now then...
What?
Yeah, law.
What, Sheffield Hallam?
No, Sheffield. Sheffield Hallam was a polytechnic in those days. Right, now then...
So you went to Sheffield University?
Yes.
To do an interview?
Yeah, to interview.
To study what?
Law.
What? Law what?
Law. It's a subject people study at
law. What, you mean
university.
Like a degree in law?
Yes, that's right.
Right.
Yeah. Is that difficult to understand?
Well, no, but usually it's called an LLB, isn't it?
You can either get a BA Law or a double LB.
Yeah.
It was a double LB course. I went to Warwick University for the same thing. Yeah.
But you didn't go to either of those places, then?
No, I decided in the end to...
and you never studied law?
To study property, and that was successful. Now then,
You left before the course was over, didn't you?
Like you did. Let me just finish this. They say here, it means adults are routinely downing, get this, Mike, 14 units of alcohol in one session. That's a bottle and a half of wine in an evening.
You told me a bottle of wine was, 6 or 7 units, is that right?
No.
Didn't you?
Six.
Is it 6?
Yeah, in an evening, by drinking in multiple locations, a study found. Yeah. The maximum limit for the entire week, as set out in NIH guidelines, should be 14 units. 14 units.
14 units a day?
No, a week.
A week?
A week.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So that's 2 bottles a week?
Hey?
That's 2 bottles a week?
It's 2 bottles a week. But listen, funny enough...
I just had 12 bottles delivered, and I would estimate that after...
That's 1 week.
No, it would last me... No, I mean, because I generally don't drink during the week very much, right? Yeah. For several days. And then what will happen is we'll have a bit of a drinking session on Friday, you and I. Saturday and Sunday, I'll probably drink maybe 3 bottles of the 12 that have come.
Right, OK.
Maybe 4.
Right.
So that's already twice as much as, or 3 times as much as we're supposed to drink.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, these are ridiculous. Let me tell you this, because I've already got a research document here, right, which I found earlier in the week. Don't worry. If you like a drink but are worried about your health, move to Chile, right?
There's some good red wine in Chile.
Yeah, some great red wine in Chile. The UK government recommends 112 units. I don't know what this is. This is a year or a week or something.
A year?
Could be. Anyway, it recommends 112, whatever that is, right?
112 what?
Well, I'm trying to find out.
You don't know, do you?
Countries have no clear definition of a drink. Tell me about... Oh, here we go. Britain issued fresh guidelines in January telling people not to drink more than 14 units a week, about a bottle and a half of wine, OK?
Right.
So...
Well, it sounds more like 2 bottles, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does to me.
Well, if a bottle and a half of wine is 14 units, then surely 1 bottle must be round about 9.5.
Yeah, or it says all 5 pints of beer. But anyway, the figures they've got here, for some unknown reason, it's the guidelines of units of pure ethanol. That's pure alcohol, OK?
Yeah.
In a year.
Right.
In a year.
Well, what's the figure?
112.
112 what?
Well, units of pure ethanol. But anyway, look, the point of the story is it's all comparative.
It doesn't make any nonsense. It doesn't make any sense at all.
They say that's for the UK, 112. The Polish government are the best.
Yeah.
They say, no, drink 280, which is more than double.
And make it in the back of the shed.
Yeah, that's right. Vietnam, 280. France, 210. Canada, 204. Right. UK, 112.
Well, they're only guidelines, aren't they?
Hey?
They're only guidelines.
And as for units in the UK,
you've seen the time.
14. In Chile, 58. That's brilliant. I'm moving to Chile.
58 a week?
Or Poland. No, a week, yeah.
I'm confused with all those numbers.
Yeah, 58 a week.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't drink ethanol anyway. This is Talk Sport.
You do?
Start spreading the news. I'm leaving.
I have to say, no matter how many times you hear that song, it does
totally
give you a little lift, doesn't it?
And what's your immediate image in your head when you hear that?
Well, it's just a bar in New York somewhere,
no,
really.
Mine is Eamon Duran's.
Is it?
Eamon Duran's, was that on 2nd?
It was on 2nd and 53rd. Yeah.
2nd and 53rd. It had the fantastic jukebox. Yeah. Eamon was a great mate of ours, a first-generation Irishman who established a great business there. Used to go and play golf with him and all sorts of things. And on a number of occasions, I stayed in that bar all night. I used to come out at 6 o'clock in the morning. Brilliant.
And go to work.
And go to work,
I know, those are the days.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen anymore because the bar's not there anymore, actually, and he's not alive anymore, funny enough.
No,
but,
he died a long time ago.
We'll talk some more about him because he was fascinating.
Yeah.
But right now, we're going to talk about Donald Trump. As John Green is here.
Yeah.
He is, of course, watching the New York primary results for us. He's editor at America blog. John, a very good morning to you.
How's it going?
Very well indeed. Thanks very much for joining us.
Yes.
We're just watching on our internal monitors here, Donald Trump making his speech. We can't hear what he's saying, but he looks as if he's got his hair under control for once.
Yeah, I would imagine he would be taking pretty good care of his hair tonight.
Yeah, I mean, not really particularly a surprise, I suppose, if you consider that what he's just won is not just New York City, but New York State. What does this mean for his campaign? How much closer is he to getting the number of votes he needs to get the nomination?
Well, so the interesting thing is, when we know he won New York State, it's actually kind of important how much he wins New York by.
Right.
If he wins by each congressional district by more than 50%, he can actually sweep almost all of the delegates. And if he gets more than 85 or so out of the 90-some delegates that are up for grabs tonight, he's in a really strong position to sort of shut Ted Cruz out at the convention. It's all about getting a certain number of delegates so that he has a majority of the delegates going into the convention, not necessarily a raw vote total, which so we're going to be looking more later into the night to see just how much he won New York by.
John, is there any sign that a major gaffe like confusing 9/11 with 7/11 harmed Mr. Trump in any way, or is he still the Teflon politician?
You know, he keeps saying ridiculous stuff, and we keep thinking like, all right, this is it, right? This is the one. When he insulted a war hero, when he made fun of a disabled reporter, he attacked a moderator of one of the debates for menstruating, like all of these things that we keep thinking, all right, this has got to be the one that brings him down, and nothing affects him.
Yeah.
His supporters really, really, really like him. The people who aren't already in his camp, though, the encouraging thing is the people who aren't already in his camp aren't going towards him anymore. He's no longer picking up support.
Well,
Sure.
that is where he's got the problem, isn't it? Because I mean, for a lot of people following the way that this whole process works from this side of the Atlantic, it's kind of confusing because people say, well, how can Donald Trump win in New York? You know, sure, it's a big Democratic state, but in the end, that's not necessarily what's going on, is it? I mean, he's getting closer and closer to the Republican nomination, but he's also looking probably better now than the reality of how well he will do in November is going to show.
Yeah, and the polling data that's out now would suggest that in order for him to actually win in November, he would need 125% turnout among white people. Right. So obviously that's not possible. So it's encouraging, I guess. I mean, it's obviously not great when a major political party nominates someone like Donald Trump, but the Democrats are not exactly worried that he would actually beat Hillary Clinton in November, barring something major, right? If the economy goes into a huge recession, if there's a major terrorist attack, something like that. But in a normal run-of-the-mill general election, he shouldn't be able to win at all.
Yeah, does he know that, do we think, John? And therefore, can you say that at the end of the day, this might have been just one vast publicity stunt for Donald Trump, because whatever happens to him now, he's going to be remembered for a very long time. Even if he was popular before or well-known before, he's like the most famous man in the world at the moment.
Yeah, so I sort of go back and forth on this, right? Part of me thinks that he never expected to be doing this well in the first place, and that he thought he would have fun, he would like play around with running, he would get some media attention, and he wouldn't.
I think that's how it started, John. I think you're right. I think that's exactly how he felt at the beginning. You know.
Yeah, but now that he's doing so well, I think he might at this point legitimately believe that he can beat Hillary Clinton, and that's hilarious to me. But I mean, this is a guy. Yeah, he's got a huge ego. He's been doing well. He's got a very insular circle of people who are feeding him a very select set of information, and he might legitimately think that he can win.
And he's also a character. I mean, whether you like him or not, and I mean, obviously it's maybe not particularly fashionable to like him. You know, he has some charisma. He has some ability to wow an audience. Where you look at all the other people in that race, including Hillary Clinton, and including Bernie Sanders, and including Ted Cruz, and anybody else that I've seen, they don't have any of that.
No, they really don't have. So this is interesting. They've done some research on like Ted Cruz. I want to focus on him specifically because he's particularly unlikable just as a person. And it turns out when you sit voters down in front of a TV screen and just play them footage of Ted Cruz talking, the longer people watch Ted Cruz, the less they like him, and it doesn't matter what he says. Right. And
it's a bit like listening to my co-host here, Mr. Mike Parry. The longer you listen to him, the less you like him.
Very harsh.
Right. But yes, and so, you know, as a Democrat, I think there are people in Democratic circles who would actually be okay with Ted Cruz being the nominee because of that. Whereas, you know, Donald Trump is charismatic. He is, especially when he's talking policy, he's very vague, right? So people who can sort of put their own best selves into him. A lot of people think all the racist and sexist stuff he says is an act anyway. So it is a little worrisome that he puts on a good show and he turns politics into a reality show. And I mean, there are a fair number of people who think that that's how politics actually works, and it's convincing for them.
It sure is. Can you explain to our millions of listeners, John, the difference between New York City, Manhattan, and its 4 other boroughs, and the rest of New York State, and how Donald Trump must have taken the voters outside of the city because of the liberal nature of...
Well, he doesn't know about the size of the margin, I suppose.
Well, I mean, perhaps you could explain that, John.
Yeah, so, for starters, early returns coming in suggest that, Donald Trump is doing not quite as well in some of the New York City boroughs, but he won, I think, Staten Island, which is just outside of the city, by a massive margin.
Sure. Well, that's very blue-collar, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of police officers, firefighters, things like that, folks like that in that area. And then, heavily upstate New York. The thing about, a lot of these states, Pennsylvania is sort of the same way, where they have major metropolitan areas with, a lot of big cities, lots of people, heavily diverse. And then you get outside of those cities, and you're really in the country. You're in rural areas that are culturally not that different than areas in the more southern or midwestern parts of the country. So for perspective, I went. If you go sort of farther upstate New York, you'll see people with Confederate flags on their bumpers.
Sure.
With bumper sticker with the Confederate flag, which you would normally only expect to see in the South. But these are not. Upstate New York is similar to Pennsylvania or Ohio in those respects.
Yeah, sort of Albany and around there.
Albany.
Yeah.
Exactly. We had a conversation.
Or 10 miles outside of Albany.
Yeah, I mean, with your theories about Trump and what he wanted when he started and what he wants now and all of that, we were talking to a former Republican congressman last week who basically is of the belief that when it comes to November, Trump and Clinton may not actually either one of them be in the race for various reasons. Hillary Clinton may have been kind of forced to drop out as a result of some of the investigations that are currently going on, and Trump may just finally have made one gaffe too many. What do you make of that theory?
I think Trump's saying. I mean, if Trump's the nominee, he's going to stand no matter what. I don't think there's a single gaffe that will get him to feel any sense of shame in order to drop out.
But isn't it the case that at the moment the gaffes encourage his vote because those who like him in the Republican Party are going to make it possible for him to just do anything and say anything, whereas once he's out there for the kind of general populace, if you like, that they might be a bit more sensitive.
Oh, he might tank in the polls, but I don't think he's going to drop out of the race. And as for Clinton, it's unclear as to whether or not the FBI is going to indict her over she had kept a private email server while she was Secretary of State and things related to that. The sort of conventional wisdom is sort of, even if it wasn't exactly above board, she's probably not going to get indicted. This is something that previous secretaries of state had also done, I think is a major factor in that.
Right.
I'm skeptical. It's certainly, I guess, possible, but I don't think it's actually going to happen.
Okay. And do we know what she's done tonight against Bernie or not yet?
So the exit polls, which are normally not very good, had her with a very narrow lead, and the early returns have her with a much larger lead.
Right.
One of the big things that was kicking around sort of within the Democratic commentary today was the fact that New York has a closed primary, which means that you have to have registered as a Democrat, as like an official member of the party, 6 months in advance,
right,
in order to be able to actually vote today in New York's Democratic primary. And that's not New York's not the only state that does this, but it is the earliest deadline that you would have had to do this. And so a lot of people who wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders very recently found out that they would not be able to because they were not registered with the party.
Right.
So, it
sounds like a case of gerrymandering to me.
It was sort of slightly different. So gerrymandering is where they draw the district line.
Right.
A certain way.
Yeah, we've kind of adopted it as a catch-all term for any kind of jiggery-pokery that goes on.
Oh, gotcha.
So I think that sounds about right. John, listen, thank you very much indeed. John Green there, who is, of course, the editor of America blog, telling us what went on at the New York primaries and what's likely to happen in the future. But we're going to be talking about this for many weeks and months to come, Mr. Parry, I imagine.
Indeed.
It's fascinating stuff. Coming up next, though, I'm going to give you some tweets on your bird table that you've just bought.
Excellent.
This is Talk Sport.
1, 2, 3, 4. Get up, get on up, get up, get on up, stay on the scene, get on up, like a sex machine, get on up, get up, get on up, get up, get on up, stay on the scene, get on up, like a sex machine, get on up, get up, get on up, stay on the scene, get on up, like a sex machine, get on up. Wait a minute, shake your arm, then use your palm. Stay on the scene.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. It's Ask Porky coming up in the next hour. We've got loads of great questions, actually. A wide variety of scenarios. A bit of James Brown there for you?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've just picked up a book on James Brown. People send me these books all the time,
So you say, yeah.
And,
I don't know where you put them all.
Eh?
I don't know where you put them all.
No, this is...
We have to get some more bookcases in.
Yeah, we'll have to. But, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic, I'm telling you. It describes James Brown as, in real life, James Brown was understood all too well as a monster of greed and vanity, a bully, a tax dodger on an industrial scale, a wife beater, and an all-round maniac.
Yes.
In 1987,
Probably fair.
Yeah. In 1987, high on angel dust, he burst into an insurance seminar adjoining his office, brandishing a gun. A police chase ensued.
Yeah, that was the chase. I remember covering that.
Yeah, do you?
Because he had a jail in the end. They caught him, didn't they?
Yeah, they caught him. Yeah. A police chase ensued. He was then convicted of carrying a deadly weapon at a public gathering, attempting to flee a police officer, driving under the influence of drugs, and he was sent to prison. He was also arrested a number of times for domestic violence, including hitting his third wife with a lead pipe he wrenched from underneath the sink.
Shocking.
And shooting at her during an argument.
Shooting at her?
Yes. The police were once summoned to his house after an electrician complained that Brown had charged at him with a steak knife. In 2004, when he was in his 70s, he pleaded guilty to a charge of domestic violence against his fourth wife.
Yeah.
OK?
Yeah.
Though he claimed to be a man of the people...
he was off his face most of the time, wasn't he?
He was off his face, yeah. He was like me, he claimed to be a man of the people, right?
And off his face.
Yeah. But though he claimed to be a man of the people, he would always travel in a private jet, while his band were forced to make do with a second-hand bus.
I once saw him. The only time I ever saw him in my travels there was in is it McLaren Airport, whatever it's called, Las Vegas Airport.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for a plane back to wherever. And he was just sitting on one of the chairs. He wasn't in a lounge, he was just sitting there.
Right.
And one of his wives, I think it was his maybe fourth wife or third wife, who was very statuesque.
Yeah.
And he was wearing the biggest pair of sunglasses I'd ever seen anyone wear.
Right.
I mean, literally, one of the lenses was almost the size of my head.
Well, to hide his face.
Well, he just had a massive pair of sunglasses.
Right, okay.
And he was just sitting there looking very sort of serene and very regal.
Yeah.
And nobody was going anywhere near him.
No, because it was like a menace, an air of menace about
it was like you wouldn't want to.
Yeah, anyway, so he flew in the private jet. His band were forced to be on the second-hand bus. He always employed spies on the buses to report anybody who was rude about him, who would then be instantly sacked, if not given the treatment by some of his bodyguards. He fined members of his band for having scuffed shoes or improperly tied bow ties, and he was equally ready to fire them for asking for the money that he owed them. In a particularly creepy manoeuvre, he would encourage his musicians to buy big expensive houses and cars and then fire them, and then wait until they were crippled by debt before offering to hire them back at half the original salary.
How bizarre.
I mean, this guy is mad.
Yeah.
He also strenuously avoided paying tax.
Sounds like a control freak.
He is, yeah. Collecting any payments for concerts in suitcases. Then he would hide the money here, there and everywhere, even burying it in fields around his house.
Right.
In 1984, as a result of this process having gone on for several years, he was found to owe the Internal Revenue Service $15 million. That was just the tax. So if tax is 25%...
It wasn't even that high there.
So that was $60 million he did. Or whatever. So he hid away $15 million.
That's a lot of cash, isn't it?
Yeah. They eventually managed to claw some of it back by seizing his private jet, 3 radio stations he owned, and 30 cars.
Blimey.
One of his principal arguments against paying tax, which he told a judge in court, was that President Nixon had once told him he was a national treasure. Yeah. He therefore decided he was immune to national tax. Against all the evidence detailed in reputable journals such as the New York Times and well over a dozen previous biographies written on him, this is the one I'm reading now, the image of him comes out. The image of him overall is that he was very bad news. James was always neat, always clean, always polite, says his first wife, Velma, and blamed all Brown's misdemeanours on his fear of white men. The real James Brown, he argues, was sensitive, kind, loyal, proud, troubled. All in all, he was the most cliched of things and massive contradictions. I mean, it's an amazing book, honestly. Yeah. And it goes on and on about what he used to do.
I knew that he was often in trouble with the law. I didn't realise that he... I mean, the thing that shocks me the most about that story is what he used to do to the guys in his band.
Yeah, that's
the fact that he would just kind of have them on sort of slave wages.
That's
in order to, and he would manufacture that.
That's right. Far from being a man of the people, he was once accompanied to a welfare shelter where he was supposed to be showing people his compassion for those less fortunate himself. But as he walked in to the New York City building, he shouted to the inmates, "You all ought to be ashamed of yourselves. You ought to be working instead of being lazy bums lounging around here." So,
I mean, this tweet from Paul proves to be even more prosaic than we thought. James Brown, just like Porky Parry, then.
What? That's very harsh.
Because he doesn't like bums, right? He pretends to be a man of the people when he's not.
Yeah.
Doesn't particularly like, paying government taxes.
Disgraceful.
And treats everybody as if they're supposedly his owned people.
Not at all. How rich must he have been to have hidden away $15 million in tax payments?
Well, it sounds like he didn't just hide that. He hid the total amount.
No, that's right,
He didn't put the $60 million through the banking system. He must have it all in his garden.
Exactly, yeah.
How bizarre.
Isn't that weird, yeah.
Do you think they're going to find any of your cash on the old, underneath the bird table?
Good way to manage your money.
Yeah, all right. We've got lots more to do. This is TalkSport.
Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as ho-ho-hos.
This is TalkSport. Roy says, sounds like James Brown should have been Porky's mentor. 2 peas in a pod, both men of the people.
Yeah, that's very harsh.
And Thomas says, he sounds like a mellow guy, James Brown. # crackpot. # good teeth.
Yeah.
He did have very good teeth.
Yeah, he did, yeah. Well, he had them all redone, didn't he? Because he got himself into fights all the time and that sort of stuff.
And then Rob says this, the best way to keep cats off Porky's postage stamp-sized penthouse patio, buy a bird table. Genius.
Yeah.
# plank.
Well, I think that's... I know it's quite... Oh, no, the cats don't...
Well, the cats will come for the birds.
No.
Of course they will.
Oh, no, I've put spiked fences right along the walls everywhere. And the fences, they don't get in anywhere. Now, I haven't seen a cat...
There's no time.
I haven't seen a cat for ages.
It's time for the news at 2 o'clock. Oh, hang on. No, it's not. The news is
Can you tell the time?
Yeah, I can tell the time.
Can you?
Yeah.
So how come you're trying to pull the show, a good 58 seconds before we have to?
I was misinformed.
No, you weren't misinformed. No, you were misinformed.
I was told I would have about 30 seconds when we came back.
Do you know what that is?
What
That's
is it?
flashback bladderation, that is.
No, it isn't. No.
Yes, it is.
No,
people get it all the time. People who indulge in...
It's being misinformed.
6 or 7 bottles overnight on a Saturday, and then they cut down a bit on Monday and Tuesday. You get a flashback Tuesday night, which causes your bladderated mind to misread the clock.
Well, when I said there's
That's
no
what it
time,
is.
also when I said to you there's no time, why did you stop talking?
Because I was looking at your face instead of looking at the clock, and your fat face told me the wrong message.
Why are you getting so worked
Your
up?
fat face was like a sundial that was suddenly gone wrong. A bent sundial. Do you think Pochettino's part of the plot for Jose Mourinho not getting the job at Manchester United?
Why?
Well,
because he wants the job, you mean?
I think United have got their eyes on him.
Now we definitely haven't got any time.
Okay.
It is now definitely time for the news.
You sure?
This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Got another message here from Les in Manchester about the old days of the drinking culture.
Oh, yes.
He says, I always thought that I'd seen Mr. Parry before. And by the way, tell him the Crown and Kettle was not next door to the Land of Cakes. It was on the same side as the Express on the corner of Great Ancoat Street and Oldham Road, which was opposite Yates Wine Lodge.
Excuse me.
Both of which have gone now.
I said it was in the same building as the Express. I said it was an extension of the Black Lubianca. If you go into the steps of the Black Lubianca and go up there, The black glass was above you and to your right, and to your left was the Crown and Kettle.
Yeah, okay, I don't doubt you.
Yeah.
And the express known as the Glass. Why didn't we go there, by the way, when we were in Manchester? We should have gone there when we were in Manchester.
What, Great Ancoats Street?
Well, we should have gone and had a look, shouldn't we?
How
far were we away from there then? When we were
you're
staying
not
at the,
far from
Palace?
anywhere. You're not far from anywhere in Manchester.
Well, we were on
It's not
Oxford
big.
Road, weren't we?
Yeah, we're on Oxford Road. We'd have to go up Oldham Street because it's on the north side of the city, out towards Saddleworth Moor, actually.
Okay.
And
Because
Rochdale and Oldham Road.
I feel as though I've been now to the centre of Manchester, but I don't feel as if I got my sort of bearings.
Yeah.
Particularly, I would have liked to have been taken to the Express building.
Yeah.
But you failed to do that.
Yeah, I
He
did,
then says the Express, known as the Glass House, has now been converted into yuppie flats. I would have thought that when he was in Manchester last week, he might have gone and had a nostalgic look at his old haunt. And if he had, he could have bought a luxury flat in the Glass House.
Well,
and although I didn't work in the Express, I used to work in the Daily Mail, Manchester Evening News in Deansgate.
Yeah, Deansgate. That was got blown up by the IRA, but it was a very famous location. And the press club was in Deansgate as well, not very far away from the Manchester Evening News and Guardian building. Last time I went to see the Express Black Lubyanka, because it's exactly the same as the building in Fleet Street, by the way, built by the same architect under Lord Beaverbrook's ownership. Yeah. It still had its presses. The press floor was on the ground floor, Mike, and you could stand outside and watch the Daily Express being printed.
That was great.
It was brilliant. And last time I went there, so it must have been a few years ago now. Although I've been to Manchester a few times for football matches. Last time I actually went to Great Ancoats Street. The building was occupied by the Sport newspaper group.
Oh, yeah.
And they published their
Which used to be owned by David Sullivan.
That's right, absolutely, yeah.
No more.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Now, I've got a couple of other things to tell you.
Right.
Let me read you this, though, because it's interesting, from Tony in Derby.
Tony in Derby,
He says, hello, Mike and Mike. I'm close to a few people involved at Derby County.
Right.
And I thought Porky would like to know that David Moyes will be taking over in the summer.
Well,
I suppose that would depend on whether they get into the Premier League, wouldn't it?
No, because I don't think they're going to get into the Premier League, are they?
Well, they're in a sort of possible playoff position, aren't they?
Are they?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm always certain that the clubs who are going up are going to be Middlesbrough or Burnley, but probably both.
Yeah.
Or Brighton as the two automatics.
Middlesbrough and Burnley. If it was today,
yes.
Middlesbrough and Burnley are the top two.
That's right.
And then third Brighton, fourth Hull, fifth Derby, sixth Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, Derby are in a sort of playoff position, aren't they?
I think Hull will triumph from the other four. If Brighton have got a very good chance. Brighton might even go up automatically. I think it's 3 out of 4. Now, how many go up? Three, yeah.
I think the first two automatically.
Yeah, I think it's
and
Burnley,
then the next
Middlesbrough,
play off,
and then Brighton or Hull.
Yeah.
In my view.
Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Now, here's one from Derek in Pencoed. He hasn't let us know yet whether he's going to be attending our show in the Tram Shed in Cardiff on the 7th of May.
Okay.
But he says this, with Porky always claiming he is far more intelligent than everybody else,
yes.
in my opinion, he is suffering from delusions of Napoleonic grandeur.
No, not at all. Not at all. By the way, you know that you told our audience, that from next week we're doing Hawksby and Jacobs.
That's true, yeah.
Filling in for Paul and Andy for 2 weeks, which we're looking forward to very much indeed.
Yeah.
I will revert then, because it's daytime broadcasting, more towards my role as the seeker of truth and justice.
Well, as opposed to what?
Well, at the moment I see myself as the man battling for the little man, as the man of the people, as the shield against bladderation and Rogerisation.
So how do you see your role as different in the night time and during the day then?
I feel
you should be in better shape actually, because you actually sleep.
What?
Won't you? If we're doing a daytime show, you'll actually get some sleep.
Maybe, but I see my role as, on the night show, I see my role as being the voice of the voiceless, if you see what I mean.
The voiceless?
Yeah, the voice of the voiceless.
If only you had a voiceless voice.
But in my daytime role, I honestly would, suggest that I'll be reverting to the seeker of truth and justice in a far more relevant way.
I see, okay. Well, I'll look forward to that.
Good.
As long as you're here on time, that's fine.
Oh, I'll always be here on time.
Yeah, just keep issuing tweets saying it's sort of 7 a.m. just arriving at TalkSport Towers.
Yeah. Well, no. I think you'll find when we've done mid-morning shows before, I think you'll find I was usually here about 2 hours before you.
Yeah, well, I got here at 8 o'clock for a 10 o'clock show.
Oh, did you?
Here at 11 o'clock for a 1 o'clock show. Yeah. I think that's more than enough time.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
My preparation is constant. I don't have to come here and sit down and read the papers.
Oh, really?
It's all going on. It's always there.
Do you know that the man who invented Weetabix has died, sadly?
Really?
Yeah.
Died sadly?
Well, I mean, sadly he's died. His name was Sir Richard George.
Why do people say that?
Well, what do you mean?
Because it's another one of these sanctimonious, meaningless phrases.
Yes, I agree.
Everybody always says sadly died.
Yeah, I mean, everybody dies, don't they? That's the point.
Well, they do. And funnily enough, you should say that. This is another thing I wanted to bring to your attention.
Oh, yes.
You know how we've, for the first 3 months of the year, been thinking to ourselves, blimey, somebody else that we've been with all our lives,
Yes.
celebrity-wise,
Yes.
is dead.
Yes.
It turns out that twice as many celebrities have died in the start of this year, the first quarter,
Yeah, I know.
than they did last year.
Well, you've only got to sort of list them on one hand, David
One hand.
Bowie. Two hands. David Bowie.
Bowie.
Ronnie Corbett.
Yeah.
The great actor who was Sheriff of Nottingham in...
Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman, yeah. Yeah, that's
Terry
three.
Wogan.
Terry Wogan. I forgot about
George
him.
Martin.
George Martin.
Paul Daniels.
Paul Daniels.
I mean, you know.
I mean, yeah, it is amazing, isn't it?
But apparently somebody's actually done a study, and a number of obituaries that have been broadcast by the BBC
Yes.
have proven to be twice the number that they did the same time last year.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing.
But, I mean, it's not particularly amazing, because actually the reason is, and they give this reason in the study,
Yes.
the reason it's happening is because people who became famous in the 60s
Yes.
are now reaching a certain age.
Yes.
And they're all now kind of reaching the end of their lives.
Well, it's talking about, celebrities and stars and all that. John Whittingdale, our old friend, the culture secretary.
Or Casanova, as he's now known.
Casanova has had to admit that...
Somebody else come out of the woodwork.
Yeah. He forgot to enter into the Commons Book of Privileges that he accepted hospitality at a lap dancing club. and as
This guy's amazing.
Yeah.
Where does he find the time to do any work?
The hospitality was organised by the Lap Dancing Association.
Quite right.
In 2008,
Yeah.
at the time of planned government crackdown.
The Lap Dancing Association.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a lap
That's great,
dancing
isn't it?
association. But of course, you're always accusing me of having gone into a lap dancing club to
Well,
watch
you
a
did.
football match
Did you
in
not?
Soho. I did not.
Yes, you did.
I did not.
You
I will
did
defend
indeed.
myself and
No.
my honour to the end of my day.
You did indeed enter a lap dancing establishment under the auspices of watching a football match.
The only place in Soho that had a
Rubbish.
screen that was showing the game that night was in the foyer, the entranceway to a lap dancing club. I didn't actually go into the club. I did not witness any young ladies spinning around on poles, scantily dressed. Of that I can assure you.
Yeah, but you did watch the entire game in there, didn't you?
Of course I did. I wanted to watch the
while
game.
they were all tottering
when
around
we
you.
when we were talking about wine earlier, by the way, I meant to tell you that according to one of my wine journals,
Oh, yeah.
have I told you this before?
I don't know, because I don't know what you're going to say.
Well, French Bordeaux is not just going out of fashion; it might go out of production.
What?
The demand for it is
Rubbish.
honestly.
That can't be true.
Growers of
I'm very
Bordeaux,
I'm very partial to a Bordeaux white.
while the connoisseurs of southwest France, Bordeaux's red.
No, but you can get Bordeaux white as well.
I'm talking about Bordeaux red. The connoisseurs of southwest France have had their noses buried deep in the glass as a new generation of drinkers has moved on.
Well, I must say, and when it comes to red wine, I
Yeah.
very, very rarely buy for any French wine.
Years of falling sales and rising prices, the latest vintage had been earmarked as make or break for the region, and if the critics are to be believed, the signs are not good. Chateau owners are desperately over-promoting this year's offering as the birth of a great vintage. It seems that the wine has left a bitter taste on the palate of wine experts.
Well, do you know what I find with French red wine? And
What?
I know that there will be those who are very, very much more knowledgeable about wine than I am, who will say, of course there are some great French reds, don't be so ridiculous.
Yes.
But the great French reds tend to be much more expensive because your palate gets trained to drink things like, I've just ordered a case of Malbec, which is from Argentina.
Yeah.
And it's very kind of rich and
I like Chilean red.
Fruity. Chilean is similarly rich.
But if I had to choose...
And Australian red is quite a rich
But if
wine
I had
as
to
well.
choose a good red, it would always be a French one. It would always
like what,
be
then?
Fleury.
Like what?
Fleury.
But Fleury's
Bone.
not. But Fleury's kind of watery, though.
Chateau Neuf du Pape.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but-
like that. I like the Beaujolais family. I like the Beaujolais family. I really do.
Yeah, but that's not. But that's because you know nothing about wine, basically.
I know how to taste wine, and I know
you know
what
how
I
to
like.
drink it by the gallon.
I
is
know.
what you
I know what I like.
Well, if you answer the questions on the personal listography today on the New Day newspaper.
Yeah. What are your favourite three drinks?
Well, list your three favourite drinks.
Yeah.
What would they be?
Well, mine
Pinot Grigio.
Pinot Grigio.
Yeah.
Pinot Grigio.
What about the third one?
Pinot Grigio.
All three.
Yeah.
Oh, plank. This is Talk Sport.
Taking away the moments that make up a dull day. Fritter and waste the hours that off and wait.
part of the Two Mics. Ask Porky coming up very shortly. We've got lots of great questions, but you've still got time to sneak one in under the wire if it's particularly good. Quite a few remarks on the David Moyes front. David says no big club will appoint him. I assume he means David Moyes after what he did to us. I think he's always going to be...
Manchester United?
Yeah, I think so,
He was sold an absolute pup
there. He was.
And I think he came out of it with great dignity in the end, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think he did too badly.
No.
Roy says, Brighton or Hull, put your money on Sheffield Wednesday then. Hashtag Porky Jinx. Hashtag Kiss of Death.
Excuse me.
Steve says, David Moyes to possibly take over at Derby County. Can't see that happening. He's off to Aston Villa. I'm not sure you'd go there either.
No, I don't think you'd go there.
Any news on the update? So I see they've suspended Gabby Agbolahor.
Yeah, well, they had to,
for his,
didn't they?
hippie crack episode.
Ridiculous pictures of him with consorting with young ladies.
Well, yeah, but I mean, really? Really? What do they think footballers do in their spare time? I mean, I know they shouldn't do that, but that's what they do, isn't it?
The football season's not over yet. He's overweight and he's taking hippie crack. Of course, that's to suspend him. And also, remember, that was a celebration party for relegation.
Yeah.
So I don't think his mental attitude's right either in his attitude towards his club.
But isn't it a bit late for all that?
I think it is. Listen, you know when politicians are up on the old podium there and they've got something to celebrate, just one or something?
Yeah.
Why do they always... every 30 seconds, point to somebody in the crowd.
We're watching Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Well, do you know who started that?
Who?
It was Ronald Reagan.
Really?
Because it was one of his tricks. Yeah, Ronald Reagan and Nancy, whenever they came out onto any stage.
Right.
And I read a book about this. I can't remember whose book it was. But
right.
It was one of the White House correspondents who said that they invented that as a device because what it meant was that, one, they had friends in the audience.
Yes.
And it also meant that they looked as though they were like ordinary people.
Yeah,
because
I see,
if you're an ordinary person walking out onto a stage,
the
first thing you look for is something familiar. And so he actually invented this idea of pointing and waving, but there was nobody there.
So, like, I'm not just a remote politician. A load of my mates are in the crowd here. They've been voting for me. And so
hi,
it was great.
Oh, look, hi over there, and you're saying thanks, and you're connecting with this audience, even though there's actually nobody in there.
Yeah.
So everyone realised that he was the great communicator.
That's right,
And ever since then, they've always copied it.
Everybody does it.
You're quite right to pick up on it, because
exactly.
Hillary Clinton is one of the most unlikable people in the world.
Oh,
of politics,
absolutely,
right? And I mean, even those who work with her are not exactly enamoured with her.
Well, even her husband has, to go Rogerising himself around the world and around America to get away from it on a regular basis.
Yeah, I don't think he's allowed to do that anymore.
Well, I think he's still at it. Probably.
No, I don't think. I met him in Scotland.
Allegedly.
Right? When he was. It doesn't matter if you say allegedly.
No, it doesn't.
You might as well not bother.
No, I agree.
But, the point is that, he started to look very, very much older. Once he became a private citizen again, he was no longer president.
Well, funny enough...
I always believed that she let him do what he wanted while he was president. Yeah. But then at the end of that, it was almost as though she took what was, his equipment off him and put it in the fridge and said, you can't have that anymore.
If she... I mean, there's two ways of looking at this. When he was president of the United States of America and the most powerful man in the world, he could do what he likes.
Exactly.
And when...
and even Mrs. Clinton couldn't really stop him.
No, she couldn't stop him. And when Monica Lewinsky used to refer to going up to the White House with my presidential knee pads, that was humiliating to... excuse me.
Is that the phrase she used?
She did.
Well, I'm sorry, I wasn't being crude. You're the one that said the presidential knee pads.
I was only saying what she said.
Well, White House issue.
That was exactly her expression.
Yeah.
And there was nothing Hillary could do about it because he was the prez. Even though he was impeached for such behaviour, he got away with it.
Well, he wasn't though in the end, was
a can of Coke. No, but anyway, an impeachment hearing, I should say.
Yeah.
But now you're absolutely right. If she becomes the president of the United States of America, the most powerful woman in the world, it would be ungainly to be reading repetitive stories of her husband going around Rogerising showgirls like Jennifer. What's her name?
Jennifer Aniston.
No,
Lopez.
No. The lady.
Jennifer who?
They used to go and see when he went out running.
Jennifer
Flowers, yeah. He was out jogging, Hey, Bill, I'm out, I'm Bill Clinton, I go
horizontal jogging, I think she meant.
Oh, a lot of horizontal jogging with Jennifer Flowers, who then shockingly came out in public when he was nominated as a runner for the presidency and said, I've been having an affair with this man for 11 years. And Hillary knew all about it and didn't care.
Can you imagine, actually, what the scenario will be like in the next year? Because obviously, come January, a new president will be inaugurated.
That's right.
I mean, it will either be, regardless of what John Le Batillier said to us the other week about whether he thinks it might be somebody other than Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, it seems like it's going to be one of them, doesn't it?
Well, it's got to be Hillary Clinton, hasn't it? Because I don't know why, but I do believe that the American people have decided, Donald Trump is a freak of nature, and they're just going to tolerate him purely for the circus effect until he gets to vote him for a president.
He's a bit like the Leicester City of American politics.
Yes,
everybody keeps expecting him to falter. Everybody keeps expecting him to say something that's going to make it impossible for him to be in charge.
Yes,
he keeps completely and utterly sort of ignoring all the pundits and all the conventional wisdom, and he keeps getting more votes.
That's right. The Clintons' daughter is called Chelsea, isn't she?
She is.
Now, when she meets somebody and have this sort of conversation over dinner, what do your folks do, Chelsea?
Well, I think most people who are having dinner with her probably know.
Yeah, but I mean, suppose they didn't. Suppose a guy from a Martian from Mars arrived. Yeah. And
suppose that happened.
And she said, well...
I can't believe I've just asked you how you see the next sort of 12 months in American politics, and you've just come out with that nonsense.
No, well, my pop was the President of the United States for 8 years. And then my mom was the Secretary of State of the United States for 4 years.
Yeah.
And now my mom is the President. I mean...
Yeah, but you see, the circles in which some of these people move...
Yeah, exactly.
That is not considered to be unusual.
Well, the only other family who can match them are the Bushes, aren't they?
Yeah. No, but I mean, when they go to places like, Block Island for the summer and they go to, Fisher's Island for the summer...
That's right, yeah.
You see these people, these overprivileged kids whose parents are either running massive corporations...
Maybe.
Or they're kind of, the ambassador to the Court of St. James,
maybe.
Or my dad's the president. It's all very normal for them.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, imagine, for instance, if Mrs. Bush Senior, so that's the wife of the first President Bush.
You mean Barbara Bush?
Barbara Bush, that's right, yeah. Imagine if
she's still alive.
Yes, she's still alive, yeah. They're all still alive.
You sure?
Yeah. Imagine if she went to some sort of woman's refuge or something, and they've been out of power a long time now. No,
woman's refuge?
Yeah.
Where did you get this stuff from?
Well, these people do. That's what they do.
You're not the hippie crack of it.
No, they're do-gooders. They're do-gooders, aren't they? And imagine if...
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are.
They're absolutely not.
Well, Jimmy Carter was a do-gooder. Jimmy Carter was a hopeless president.
Yeah, but he was a Democrat.
But he was
Republicans are not do-gooders.
He was a hopeless president, and he was so bad that he decided that he'd spend the rest of his life building wooden shacks for poor people in Alabama to make up for being such a hopeless president. Yeah, Georgia and Atlanta. He was a peanut farm, wasn't he, from Atlanta?
He was.
Anyway,
I have lust in my heart.
Yeah, I have lust in my heart. I went and saw him once where they dedicated a block of lavatories to him in some place in Georgia, some little
where
town.
He was from in Georgia.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I can't remember.
In Plains. It was in Plains,
Georgia.
In the town of Plains. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm supposing Barbara Bush, who's now aged about 90.
I think she is about 90.
When she sat down with one of these younger women in the refuge, and the woman said, Mrs. Bush, it's so kind of you to come and see us today.
Is this how you came up with some of your stories?
No.
You just sort of imagine a scenario.
And imagine if the young lady said, what did your husband do? And she said, well, he was the President of the United States of America. Oh, that's great. And do you have any children? Yes, I've got 4 sons. Oh, what do they do? Well, one of them was the President of the United States of America.
Yeah, the other one's the Governor of Florida.
The Governor of Florida and a failed runner for the President of the United States of America. It's amazing.
Yeah.
These political families, that's all they do. I'm not in favour of political families because they live off public money.
You'd like to be one of them, though, wouldn't
No,
you?
I would not, no.
But in America, they don't live off public money. They live off private money. That's what the big row's about.
Yeah, I suppose it is.
Because they all go around collecting massive amounts of money from big corporations.
Look at the Kinnock family in this country.
Yeah.
So many of the Kinnock family have lived off public money for so long that the sense of entitlement now goes through generations. Yeah. So Stephen Kinnock, who is
now the MP for Cardiff, I think,
exactly.
The constituency to the show, so you can slag him off.
The constituency that covers Port Talbot Steelworks, right? Yeah. He's spent all his life...
I don't think he covers that particularly. I think he's Cardiff Central, isn't he?
No. Port Talbot Steelworks is in his constituency, definitely. And what I'm saying is that, the minute that Kinnock was rejected twice by the British people here...
Yeah.
He went off and some idiot Tory gave him a job as a commissioner of the European Parliament.
That's right.
The European Commission, I'm sorry.
Isn't he also married to a Danish MP?
Well, no, I'm talking about Kinnock Senior.
Oh, Kinnock
Senior. So he goes
yeah.
off and becomes a commissioner, which is not an elected job, it's an appointed job.
That's right.
Rakes in hundreds of thousands, if not millions, in expenses, entitlements, free homes, free cars, and then his wife gets in on the act.
When the Sunday Times did that story many years ago, I was working at the Welsh Mirror at the time,
right?
And we followed it up and did a similar story in the Mirror on the Monday.
Yes,
and he rang the editor and tried to get me fired.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a good idea.
The Daily Mirror should not be trying to follow the ghastly Rupert Murdoch empire's lies and smears about me.
Just shows you how deluded these people are.
It was all true.
Just shows how
it's all true.
Oh, yeah, of course it's all true, but you mustn't expose it. You know, I work for the public sector, don't you know? I know I'm the famous Neil Kinnock.
Yeah.
I can do anything I want because I'm, a failed Labour prime ministerial candidate.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Stephen Kinnock's a member of Parliament for Aberavon.
Yes, that's right.
So you may be right about
I am right.
He's married to Helle Thorning-Schmidt.
He used to be
who was the Danish Prime Minister.
Danish Prime Minister.
Like
She's not anymore.
No, something
very,
like that.
very attractive lady, though.
Really? What's that got to do with anything?
Well, it's got everything to do with everything.
Really?
In my view.
Ask Porky's coming next. We've got a load of great questions that we have to rush through.
Okay.
So if you can be as brief but as informative as possible with each of your answers, that would be brilliant.
Yes.
We're going to kick off with a question that came in on Twitter from Henry, who says, I've just moved into a new house. Yeah. Should I introduce myself to the neighbours or save myself a rat-like cunning later?
I wouldn't bother with your neighbours. Neighbours are a pain in the butt because the problem is that once you introduce yourself to the neighbours then think, I've made a connection here, and almost inevitably you'll have something that they will want. And I'm not talking about a cup of sugar here. I'm talking about company. I'm talking about, the need to be friendly. I'm talking about, most human beings want to sort of sidle up to other human beings because they're frightened of being in the world on their own. I would just give the neighbours a bum steer. Keep yourself to yourself. Ignore the neighbours. If they speak to you, be polite. Otherwise, do not try and engender any social relationship with your neighbours. It will end up in disaster. You'll fall out with them.
Colin says this on Facebook. My wisdom tooth is playing up again. Do I go to the dentist and get put on anti-bladderation tablets or grit my teeth and keep getting bladderated, especially as it's now barbecue weather?
No, go and get them taken out. The problem is you've got to face up to life's problems. You can't compromise life's problems. If you do that, the problem gets worse. The pain gets more intense. The sense of loss, the sense of losing direction, the sense of something else controlling your life except yourself has gone. You must take the initiative. And if you've got a pain in your wisdom tooth, you go to your dentist, you say, how do I stop the pain? If he says there's a course of tablets, you say, give them to me. If he says I've got to extract them, then get them extracted.
Thank you very much indeed. Here's one from Becky in New Zealand. Mike, do you think man has a responsibility to save endangered species, or should we let them go extinct?
It depends on what the endangered species is. If it's a white rhino running around Africa, I don't care, because I don't go to Africa very often, and I certainly don't go sightseeing white rhinos, so it doesn't really affect my life. Again, if it's some sort of rare fish that only exists in the Indian Ocean, I don't care if it becomes extinct. However, if it was a Labrador dog, I'd fight tooth and nail to keep the Labrador dog because I love Labrador dogs.
Well, they're not
they're
going to become
great.
Extinct, are they?
Well, we hope they're not going to become extinct. But you take my point. If it's a useful animal and a lovable animal, we must fight to save it. Otherwise, I don't care.
Wayne says this, Porky, in today's modern society, can we live a sin-free life with temptation around every corner?
Well, it depends what your definition of sin is. If sin is helping another human being feel good by sharing emotions with them, by sharing actions with them, both mentally and physically, I see no problem or no issue in not indulging yourself in the pleasures of the mind and the flesh in order to improve somebody else's life.
OK. Here's one from somebody calling himself, Have You Seen the Time, on Twitter.
Right.
He says, if you were stuck on an island and could only have one person there, who would it be?
The one person I would have with me, could that person be dead or alive?
I don't know.
The one person I would have with
Why
me...
are you shouting, by the way?
Well, sorry, I've got to get my point over.
Right.
The one person I would have with me on a... What's it? A desert island?
A desert island.
Would be a member of my family, because at the end of the day...
Oh, yeah, you see, but if you only had one, you might cause conflict with the others.
Well, I'm sorry, you'd have to nominate somebody to have a member of my family with me. They're the only people in the world you can really trust. The only people in the world you can trust are members of your own close family, close members, siblings, maybe your parents, maybe your children, I don't know. But they're the only people you can trust. At the end of the day, when you're critically ill, lying in a bed in hospital, the only people who are going to be sitting around your bedside are going to be your family. At times of stress and need, only your family will help you out. All other people in life will just rip you off. In the end, you fall out with all your friends. Believe me, it's happened to me.
Yeah, you haven't got any friends. Richard says this, Porky, what advice have you got for Lewis Hamilton after his poor start to the season? He is also the less successful in a bickering partnership.
Yeah, if I was Lewis Hamilton now, I'd either start taking Formula 1 motor racing seriously again or I'd give up. The point is, he's a three-time world champion, so he's got nothing more to prove. It seems to me that his attitude after winning it for a second time in succession, back-to-backs, 3 races from the end, he simply gave up and decided that, he'd done enough and he had it in the bag. Similarly, at the start of this season, very, very poor start to the season. I think he's completely lost it now, and I don't think he'll get it back. I would do what Michael Schumacher didn't do and retire with dignity and grace whilst you've got a great record.
Here's one from Jay on Twitter. It says, I'm running London Marathon on Sunday. What should my pre-race meal be?
Your pre-race meal should be pasta, because pasta gives you latent energy to burn out as the race goes on. You have to understand there is latent and kinetic energy. It's a physical force within the body. You need the latent to spill out over the next 5 or 6 hours that you're going to be running that marathon. That will get you round. You won't hit the wall, as many do, if you followed my advice.
Here's one from Brad, who says, I'm taking my girlfriend to London soon. Can Porky suggest places I can take her for the best chance of Rogerisation?
Well, to be
I'm
honest...
not sure what he means, though.
No, exactly. The only reason you're taking your girlfriend to London for Rogerisation, I wouldn't bother, mate, because, you know, it's just as cheap to get a hotel wherever you are as to get it in London. However, if you want to be romantic, you know, which is a different thing altogether, I should take a boat up and down the River Thames. Some very, very nice boats now go up and down the Thames. They've got a bar on board, and you can take the boat to Canary Wharf. You can get off at the top there, and there's a beautiful Italian restaurant just on the walkway down to the pier, where you will have a sparkling time. But pure Rogerisation, you know, physical indulgence in sex in London is not the reason to come to the capital.
I think you may be right about that. John says this on Facebook. Advice, please. I can't find trousers that fit my waist in the right length, so I have taken to wearing long trousers that come down over my heels. Has there been anything invented to help shorten trousers? Alternatively, should I just admit I have a body like Fred Flintstone and start wearing a stretchy tracksuit?
Well, what a hopeless individual this person is. I have the same problem because I have a well-formed body, but it's not always the same measurements as clothes they sell in places like Marks and Spencer, where I buy my clothes.
Right.
Every time I bought a
different shop.
Every time I bought a pair of trousers in my life, I've had to have them shortened.
Yeah.
And the first thing I do is I take them home and I wash them, and that means that the any shrinkage factor is then looked after, right?
But not from a suit, surely.
Oh, no, not from a suit, you idiot. I get the suits done in the shop where I buy them and go back and collect them 2 days later.
Okay.
If, however, I'm buying my chinos at Marks and Spencer's, I take them home, I get them washed by my housekeeper, and she then takes them down to the local dry cleaners where they do clothes adjustments, and I have
put them on in a bath like we used to do with jeans.
No, that's to mould them around your legs. And I have them shortened to the appropriate length. Yeah. Anybody can do that. It's a problem very simply solved, you oaf.
Thank you very much. Jonathan says, when Porky says he's a man of the people, what people is he actually talking about? The average honest working man or the devious millionaire playboys of this world?
Well, I believe in trickle-down economics, so I believe that if the people at the top who've got a load of money work hard, they will have to employ people to do things for them that wouldn't otherwise get done. So, for instance, unless you have a wealth-creating elite in a country, you can't look after the needs of those people who, through no fault of their own, were not able to acquire the sort of wealth you need to run an estate that needs gardeners, that needs people to clean the cars, that needs people to maintain the roof and wash the windows and do the gardening. All that is because we have trickle-down economics.
Here's one from Dave on Twitter. What were your memories of the O.J. Simpson trial, particularly when the verdict came in?
I was in a hotel in Newcastle. I'd been attending a meeting there. I was the executive editor of the Press Association, and I remember the flickering smile on OJ's face as the first verdict of not guilty came in.
So you weren't working then?
Well, I wasn't actually working in a newsroom, no, on that day. We didn't know when the jury was coming back. They'd been out a couple of days. So it was a very, very historic moment, and one that I will not forget.
Matthew says this on Facebook. If Everton win the Cup, will Porky say right now, live on air, he will sign up for either Strictly or I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, especially after his abysmal Bournemouth Pier cop-out?
Well, I wanted to jump off Bournemouth Pier. Wasn't allowed to by the authorities in Bournemouth. If I was invited into one of those, what are they called?
One of those what shows, those sort of reality shows.
Reality shows, something like that. I would certainly consider it, and I would donate a percentage of the fee, depending on what it was, to... What are you laughing at?
Depending on what it was?
Yeah, to...
Why would the percentage differ?
Well, no. Well, it depends how big the fee was.
That's what I mean. And why would it be any different?
Well, because if I was given...
Either you did give 10% away or you don't.
Well, if it was fee was £100,000, I'd be happy to give 10% away.
Right.
If the fee was £20,000... I might think again.
Why wouldn't you give 10% of 20 grand away?
Because, It's only 20 grand.
Shocking. How about this one from Ian? How's the bladderation in moderation going?
Bladderation and moderation going very well indeed. I've not now had an alcoholic drink since 4 o'clock last Saturday afternoon after I'd finished lunch, and I intend that to go right the way through until I have a liaison involving bladderatory circumstances at Friday lunchtime this week.
Okay, now, final question, and this is from, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, but it's a Gaelic spelling, Helmin, maybe. He says, as a Scot exiled in Iceland, the girlfriend and I are looking for a nice October sun holiday. As a well-travelled man, Porkmeister, where would you recommend we go? The Seychelles, Chile, South Africa, California, Malta, or Chester? I don't know why he's added Chester in at the end. Oh, actually, Kevin, sorry.
Yeah, I would actually go to Chester myself because it's a beautiful city and I'm not all that keen on sunshine. However, if you want sunshine, go to the Seychelles. Seychelles is a marvellous archipelago.
Yeah,
that's right, of loads of little islands, including Bird Island, where there are 5 million sooty terns, OK?
What?
There are 5 million sooty terns on Bird Island.
Are they looked after by the Royal Society for the Prevention of Birds?
No, they're looked after by the authorities in the Seychelles itself. However, you do get bored stiff on the Seychelles because there's nothing to do except look at the sooty terns and, get a boat in between all these islands. The amazing thing about the Seychelles is I walked from one island to another, which was 2 miles away, through the sea, and the sea never got deeper than 4 feet.
Yeah. That's one of the great things. And
It's
you
incredible.
can have a room that's literally just on the water.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which would be very nice indeed. That was Ask Porky. Thank you very much for all your questions. If you haven't had your question read out, have another go next week. We will have another session, of course. Coming up next, we'll have to discover what the Porky quiz is going to be on Thursday night. This
Indeed.
is Talk Sport. Talk Sport, we are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out tomorrow. Of course, it's Porky Vision. Lots of interesting tales to be told about that. Last week's was one of the best ever, apparently. Some people said.
What's that?
Last week's Porky Vision. They
Oh,
enjoyed
yeah,
it very
yeah,
much.
yeah.
Now, how about this from Steve? We were
Yes.
talking about what we should do the quiz on. Steve says, he's texted into 81089, have you had a quiz on the Queen yet, as it's her 90th birthday?
I think that's a brilliant idea.
I don't think we've done the Queen.
No, I haven't done the Queen. Her Majesty the Queen, and I think we should pay tribute.
Her birthday's on Thursday, I think, as well, isn't it?
It is, and I am a bit of an expert on royalty and the monarchy in this country. And remember that I've spent almost a lifetime, following a lot of the royal family around. I say that's a good idea.
You've spent a lifetime following them around?
Well, of course you have.
Are they aware of that?
Well, we all did as reporters. How many royal jobs did you do?
I did quite a lot.
Exactly, it's exactly what I'm saying.
I did Charles and Di come into Washington for the first time to see Ronnie and Nancy in the White House.
I chased Diana around the Caribbean on a yacht when she was, playing away from home, so to speak.
What period of of her life was that then? After she got separated?
No, it was
before the Panorama programme then. Must have been before the Panorama programme.
Yeah, it was before Panorama programme, but she was out there on her own. Charles wasn't with her. You know what I mean?
Was she on Khashoggi's yacht?
Yes, she was there with girlfriends.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever see her anywhere?
No.
No.
In fact, we never even saw the yacht. Spent 10 days trying to find it.
I spent an entire weekend in New Orleans chasing Princess Michael of Kent.
Yes.
And I never found her.
No, exactly. I know. It happens all the time.
It was an amazing weekend, though.
I bet it was.
The photographer I was with ended up finding himself in bed with the daughter of the woman called Sherry. Do you remember Sherry Lewis, who used to do lamb chop?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah, her daughter.
Yeah. Was that Derek Hudson?
No, it wasn't Derek Hudson. No, it was a guy from LA.
Oh, I see,
His name, I forget. He came from LA, I came from New York.
Oh, I see. It wasn't a very famous LA photographer, was it?
I don't think you'd know this guy.
The celebrity. Do you know his name?
Oh, you mean Phil Ramey?
Phil Ramey,
no.
yeah.
No, it wasn't him, no.
No, right, okay.
No, it was another guy.
Now, listen, I have some bad news for you. Today is a particularly nasty, evil and sad anniversary.
Is it?
Adolf Hitler was born in 1889.
Right. Did you get an alert on that as well?
Well, I didn't get an alert on it, but it comes up in my historical
I see.
journal.
Well, I don't particularly want to talk about that.
No, I don't
I couldn't
either.
care less. I had a very good day yesterday, though, because finally my car, which I knew has been plagued by problems with the old windscreen washers, was fixed. But do you know what was wrong with it?
No.
And this is where it gets weird.
But you told me it was a bus fuse.
No, it wasn't a bust fuse. No, the story goes that the windscreen washer sort of mechanism was initially fused.
Yes.
Because it was switched on during the frosty time.
Yes.
And that was what fused it. But when it was
What, you mean because it was asked to do too much work because it was stuck?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Not by me, I hasten to add.
No, exactly.
By somebody not a million miles from me.
Yes.
So that was then fixed because I was first told you might have to get a new motor. The motor might be burnt out. Got a new motor. Then it was said to be the fuse. Then it didn't just spray the water fast enough onto the screen. It was just limp, Anyway, the guys today fixed it. So they took the whole system apart and they found little shards of plastic inside the sort of the piping system.
Yes.
And they don't know how they got there. Isn't that weird?
No.
Well, how would that be the case?
Well, it's obviously deterioration of the plastic inside the system.
Do you think?
Of course it is.
Well, I'm not sure if that's...
Right, well, let me tell you this,
what they said.
Let me tell you this, right? A few months ago,
Yeah.
when I was using my adapter shower in my bathroom...
What?
So it's not my main shower.
What's an adapter shower?
Well, it's when you luxuriate in a bath, and then when you've...
Oh, you mean a shower that attaches to the pipes?
Yeah.
You've still got one of them? Well, like from the 70s?
No,
With the two rubber things?
No, you idiot.
What then?
It's a separate fitting on the side wall with a shower attachment,
So
right?
it's like a handheld shower?
It's plumbed in behind the tiles and all this kind of stuff, right?
Why is it called an adapter shower?
Well, I don't know. But anyway, it's for when you sink your head below the water and then come out again.
Yeah.
You don't want all the soap still in your hair,
Right.
so you use the shower.
Yeah.
Now...
It's a horrible vision I've got in my head now.
Why?
Of you sort of sitting in a bath, showering the top of your head.
No, luxuriating.
No,
mate,
it's a horrible vision.
Anyway, a few months ago, I started noticing black things coming out of my shower.
What?
Black things.
Black things?
Yeah.
What, you mean like sort of bits?
Bits.
Not creatures?
No, you idiot. No, bits. So I thought...
I don't know why you keep calling me an idiot for asking very personal...
No.
Quite sensible questions.
So anyway, I was able to get to the bottom of this very quickly. What I did was I unscrewed the head off the shower.
Right.
And I pulled out the inner plastic cord that goes inside the metal coily bit.
Can you get that out? Can you get that out? I didn't know you could.
Well, neither did I. So I took it out, and guess what happened?
What happened?
It was deteriorating.
Ah.
And that's where the black bits were coming from.
And was that rubber then?
It was rubber. So I went to B&Q myself.
Right.
Not my...
you didn't send your housekeeper?
No, I didn't. I went down, and I got a new one. And I put it in.
How do you know it was the right size?
Because I took the original with me.
Right.
Because you can screw that off at the taps, you see what I mean?
Right. Oh, so you can take the whole thing off?
Yes, that's right, exactly.
Right.
And they cut the length for you.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
So,
did you have to thread it through?
Yeah, but it just goes in. It just goes in.
But does it not get stuck halfway up?
No. Anyway.
Did you have to, flush it through so that all the bits of black stuff were out of it?
No, because the black stuff was inside the plastic tube.
Yeah.
You take the plastic tube out, they're all gone.
But where's the black stuff come from then?
It's the inside of the tube had deteriorated. The rubber had started deteriorating, perishing.
Right.
Anyway, guess what?
What?
I was in my shower in my penthouse on the coast just this very Sunday gone.
Yeah.
And guess what?
Same thing happened.
Black bits coming into my face.
And would you say they were put in at the same time?
No. The penthouse is newer than the...
Well, why is it deteriorating quicker?
hang on. When did I have the bathroom put in last? Yeah, could be about the same time, actually. Good thinking.
Which tells you that you've used the same amount in each place.
Not really. It just means that the rubber inside the coil has perished over the same time. But doesn't matter how much water's gone through it.
But the thing is, it didn't stop the water pressure from becoming...
No, not at all.
See, that's what I don't think is the case in the car.
Yeah.
Because the water pressure was being affected by these bits of plastic.
I see.
And they didn't say that it's corroding from the inside. So I don't know. But it's fascinating. If anybody's got any ideas, by all means, let me know.
Interesting.
Yeah,
didn't get hit by a drone, did you?
No.
Because bits of black plastic would have gone into your engine if it had.
Well, no, this is the water tank.
Well, I'm talking about aeroplanes being hit by drones and their engines being knackered.
Rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
Hey! The sun goes down like a bad, bad dream. You end up tight, got a lot of steam. They say they can break you again and again. If life is a radio, turn up to 10. It's a crazy, 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 crazy night.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. The show is very nearly coming to an end, but tomorrow night there will be Porky Vision. Tonight, of course, Porky, you will be presumably glued to the television screen.
Indeed.
Listening to the live TalkSport commentary of Liverpool versus Everton.
Well, I should
it's
be,
an 8
shouldn't
o'clock
I?
kickoff. Would you care to predict a score, or would you rather not enter that particular Lions' den?
I think it will be 2-2.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Quite often they draw, don't they?
Yeah, they quite often draw. And Liverpool have this habit, after a run of spectacular results, of suddenly sinking at home to somebody, 2-1 or something like that,
See,
or
I think
losing away to a weak team.
I think with Klopp now, the way they beat Borussia Dortmund,
Yes.
I think they've got that kind of belief now.
Momentum.
So if it gets to 2-2,
Yeah.
I think they might win it 3-2.
Well,
they'll get, sort of last-minute goal or something
Well,
like
I
that.
think they could well be like losing 2-1 somewhere near the end and then get an equaliser or something like
Everton
that.
got a full team. I mean, it depends what
Yeah, I
Martinez
think
puts
so.
out there.
I think so.
I mean, he
think...
can't afford to not put a full team out.
No,
there,
I think from what I'm reading, I have no inside knowledge. I think he's going to field a fairly full team.
Yeah.
But as you quite rightly say, he must, because if we get, one team that's been put up to me, I'm reading it to you now because I've got it here on my information device. Robles, and then we've got Stones and Funes Mori in the middle of the back, Oviedo and Connolly as right full back. That's because we've got injuries in the defence. Then the midfield, Delafou, Barry, Barkley, McCarthy. Morales, which is, a very strong midfield, and Lukaku playing on his own up front.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we shall see. A big night in Spain as well tonight because Barcelona, Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid are all playing. So we'll be reporting on that tomorrow, no doubt.
Yes,
as well.
that's right. And as you quite rightly say, Manchester United and Crystal Palace also play tomorrow, as do West Ham and Watford.
Yeah.
So
there's
a hell of a lot of football going on.
You'll hear all about it right here on TalkSport, of course.
Don't forget to come back tomorrow for another sparkling, as fizzy as a bottle of champagne, podcast from the two mics. Cats do not want to be friends with humans. Cats want to dominate humans. If you want sunshine, go to the Seychelles. Seychelles is a marvellous archipelago